All right. We are live, episode 126. What's up, Jeffrey Ricker of the Dirt Life Show. We're going to talk about builders, fabricators, horsepower, and all kinds of fun stuff that's behind the scenes tonight. Unfortunately, we had to reschedule some stuff. Our boy Bryce Menzies wasn't able to have the show tonight, so we're going to probably try to see if we can hang out with him maybe next week or something. But thank you guys both for kind of flipping the switch instead of having it next week and doing it this week. I really appreciate you guys jumping the gun. I'm Georgie Hamill, the host of the Dirt Life Show. We're at IMG Motorsports today, and dude, the stuff that we're going to talk about today still blows my mind. Like, every time I go in a shop, like I've been to, shops that Mila's worked at. Obviously, your shop here, James, is so crazy. You can kind of see some of the stuff in the background here that we're going to talk about. I'll switch to a different camera angle. You can see over there. That's Hot Shoes' car, right?
Yeah, that's Edward's car.
So Ryan Edwards from KMC Wheels. You can see a whole bunch of cages, all kinds of fab stuff over there. You guys got all your pipe and everything back there for customers' cars.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of cool stuff. So we're going to talk about all kinds of rad stuff. If you're on Instagram and you can't see any of that stuff, feel free to go over to Facebook or YouTube and share the show. Always share the show. Share it with just by clicking that little thing on Instagram, and you can share it with all your buddies, because that's what helps us the most. It helps give back to the guys that help us, like James and Mila over here. And also giving back is one of our show sponsors. Super cool deal that Evolution Power Sports is doing. That's why I wore my Evo shirt today. They started doing tunes for the Razor 200s. And since it's all the little kids, they have a special relationship with the Phoenix Children's Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona. Because
nice.
Jacob Zaccone, Todd Zaccone's son at Evolution Power Sports, who races I think it's a 978 maybe. No, that's Dustin Jones. But anyways, he races 976 or something. He was saved by the Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Really?
So for every tune that they do, all of the proceeds are going to be donated to the Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Wow, that's major.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
I worked with Todd just a little bit with his Evo stuff, and he is top notch. I love that dude.
Dude, he is insanely good, right?
Yeah, and he's humble.
Yeah, well, and he's giving back now, right?
Yeah,
like, how cool is that? So, if any of you guys are interested in increasing the horsepower in your kids, what's up, Air Dog? If you're interested in increasing the horsepower on any of the Razor 200s that you guys have available now, send it over to Evo, because they're not going to be making any money. They're going to take all the profits and give it to the Phoenix Children's Hospital. So, super cool of those guys to do that. Let's thank all of our sponsors real quick. Sorry, boys, this is the boring part. You can always visit us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Slide into our DMs and hang out with us anytime. We really enjoy talking with you guys as much as you guys want to hang out. We have tons and tons of people that have been hitting us up, so it's really cool that you guys are wanting to converse with all the stuff that we have going on. So I heard some tacos we're eating up. Yeah, I want to eat some tacos, man. So thank you to all of our sponsors. KMC Wheels, Motul. We're going to talk about some Motul stuff today. We got to get some. Maybe in the commercial break we'll get some. And Shock Therapy. Got my Shock Therapy hat on. You can use code DIRTLIFE at shocktherapyusa.com. You can get yourself some limit straps, steering rack, BSD kits. I saw you guys were installing this Shock Therapy steering rack.
Yeah, Johnny's doing one on one of the NA race cars over there on the rack, and then we use the limit strap kits on the Can-Ams quite a bit.
Pretty good ones?
Well, I mean, it gets rid of that swap noise,
where the shock droops all the way out. So we'll talk about some of that. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, Air Dog, it's pretty cool that they're doing that, man. So anytime anybody has a Razor 200, send it over to Evo so they can do it up. By Chupacabra, I don't know what you're talking about, Jeffrey. Thanks to the guys over at JL Audio for coming on board with the show. So if you need some tunes, I heard you might have some stuff going on with JL Audio, James.
I'm trying to get the old
this white car behind us?
Corporate cruiser set up, The
corporate cruiser with some tunes?
Yeah, catch me in that thing out in Utah next month, just dipping.
Dude, that car's good, man.
We're going to hear you first.
I don't know, maybe.
JL.
I was looking for 15s or, whatever's on the street right now. I don't know.
You're the dude just blasting?
I don't really know much about audio equipment.
I thought they 10s, but we keep them clean. All right, yeah. So thanks to the guys over at JL Audio for joining us. Thank you to you guys at Evolution Power Sports again. You can get anything that they offer, the Code Shooter, an exhaust, or even more importantly right now, to get a tune for your Razor 200. Thanks to the guys at Zollinger Racing Products. You can use the code TheDirtLife at ZollingerRacingProducts.com and get a tie rod kit or in radius rods or anything to match up with that shock therapy steering rack that you have. Thanks to the guys over at Vision Canopies. Kyle and all his team over there are doing a lot for racers and giving back. It's really cool because they donate a lot of their profits back to sponsoring individuals that race. So good to, on Kyle and those guys. So please support Vision Canopies. Thank you guys over at Crowd Heat, and thank you guys at Solder Weld. All right, boys. So tonight I wanted to talk about all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. So I kind of feel like I'm the newbie here, right? Because, James, you've been in side-by-sides for a long time. You've been in racing for a long time with dirt bikes, anything with wheels, and now obviously up at the top echelon of the side-by-side industry. And Mila, dude, you've done it all too. I mean, you sat in trophy trucks before. You've helped the Serapis brothers with their program that I know of. And we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that you've done. I mean, like, to me, all of the stuff that you guys know is going to blow me away because I don't know any of that stuff.
Well, here's the side note. I'm probably going to learn some stuff from James tonight, so we're both on the same page.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I agree.
So, the first subject that I wanted to talk about, though, was not necessarily like fabrication or like any of that stuff. I wanted to actually see, because we asked this question to Whiskey. David is one of James's co-workers here. What his favorite tool was in his toolbox. Do you guys have one? Because I kind of want to throw that out there now. You don't have to answer it now. We could get back to it later. But there's always one guy, like one favorite tool. Mine is personally the biggest impact that I can possibly get. Because no matter what, you can use it on the trailer. You can use it on your side-by-side. You can use it on whatever. So, yeah, the biggest, usually it's a...
I do know mine.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a Matco 3/8. I think it's a 18 or 20-inch handle, swivel head ratchet.
Dude, that's exactly what I was going to say. I have
No
a
way.
Snap-on one, and it's about the same size.
Yeah.
I use it for everything.
It's my go-to, George. And I've got, when these things are on sale in the truck, I've had them in my race cars for years. It's my favorite tool. So a socket's a socket, right? Like, as long as it's fitting, like sometimes lug nuts are tight, this and that, whatever.
Right.
That socket wrench, it slays for me.
And you can't get the locking head ones. I tried that.
Right.
No, you got to get the one that's
That's full swivel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has the teeth on it. Doesn't have like it kind of like has a little bit of bind, so
Nope.
It's full swivel.
Nope, full swivel. So you can tighten it up if you want it real tight or loose. But yeah, like he said, you can get up in there and just kind of tilt it forward. It's the all-around ratchet.
Mine does have the lockout on it on the top. You know, it's toothed, so you can lock it out. Like if you need a 45.
I pulled mine out. Nope, couldn't deal with it.
What I like about that is, like, if I'm trying to get with it and really crank,
You just
I
need
can
a
keep it
little
straight.
bit. Yeah.
But
See,
then-
that's where I was at too.
So I'm like the break loose guy, and then I go almost like T-handle style. And
Yep.
so it's just kind of
Yep.
There you go.
I agree.
anyway.
John
Hey,
Huppers
great
commented
minds.
in, said snap-on flush cuts for Jim Harder, and John Hupper said to 10 millimeter.
Ooh.
10,
Well, it's hard to find that one.
dude,
Yeah.
the 8 millimeter T handle when you were racing dirt bikes was like the 8 millimeter T handle. You couldn't go better than that.
No,
Like,
that's
that was
true.
the tool
Very
when
true.
you're racing dirt bikes.
The 8mm socket was my go-to in high school.
Was it?
Well, multi-use, so.
Yeah. Oh,
I used a knuckle buster.
Kurt
in high
says
school.
his is a hammer. I don't know about that. Should we let Kurt be our mechanic if he's using a hammer to beat on shit all the
Yeah,
time?
As
what
long
is-
as it's the biggest one in the box.
That's a dangerous one. So yeah, we can keep thinking about the tools as we go along because there's so many tools that we use. And so, like I said, thank you very much, James, for letting us hang out at IMG Motorsports. We have so many different things that are in these fab shops and stuff. But how do I want to say this? Like, I want to talk about this stuff so that we can relate it to our audience, right? So the guy that's going to buy a UTV and go out and like have somebody work on it or build a cage for it or build, put tires and wheels on it or service it or whatever it is. Because a lot of these guys that are already do-it-yourselfers, like the guys that are obviously telling us their tools, right? But a lot of the people that watch the show too are newbies and they have zero idea what we're going to be talking about. So we kind of got to show them how it actually benefits their stuff too. So our camp said it's all about a legit pair of aircraft safety wire pliers.
Reversible.
With reverse, yeah.
They have to be reversible.
With reverse, yeah. Otherwise, you can't get them off.
And if they're this big, you got to pitch them. They got to be the small 8-inch ones.
Yeah, those are good.
Yep.
Dude, I remember those. Those are my favorite tool dirt bike racing too, because of the grip wire.
Yep.
You just get the grip wire all tight. All right, so there are way more people behind the scenes in any race environment than anybody knows about, right? And this translates to being at shops and stuff too. So let's just think about it from a brand new person's perspective. Let's just say it's my first time going to the races, right? And I see you out on the track, or I see the Stropis brothers out on track as a good example in the UTV class, and I see that they're doing good. I'm going to think, all right, this is cool. Like, I could get into UTV and drive. I'm going to go down to the dealership and buy it. But there's way more to it. There's a ton of people that support the drivers that are behind the scenes.
Well, there is and there isn't. James and I were actually just talking about this before the show went on. At the Mint this year, the first Mint in December, so it was last year, we were pitting next to a group. They had virtually a brand new Can-Am, and they had dump cans, they had an Impact, and they had their whole family there making sandwiches. And they were just out to have fun. It wasn't about finishing. It wasn't about, we're not going to race with the top dogs, but we're going to go out and race the Mint, and we're going to have fun with it. And that's exactly what they did.
See, those are really cool stories to talk about because, like, off-road racing has the whole echelon, right? And then you have, like, let's just talk about, like, Luke or Andy or Bryce, like any of those, the McMillans or Bryce Menzies programs, like, those are very high-level programs. Even the Serapis program is really high-level, right? And those programs are the top. And almost everybody, right, is in the middle. Is like maybe like a fourth to like 2/3 of the way up, right? Like they're always in the middle, and especially with side-by-sides, right? So the more people that you can have, usually the better, because then you can have separate people in the pits and stuff, but you can do it exactly like what you're talking about, Mila. But then on the other side, like maybe we should reverse engineer this and talk about it from a professional standpoint and then go back to how you can do it on a family level. With a professional program, what's the usual setup, right? You have, to fuel, you have a, what do they call it? The pressurized systems?
Well, so allegedly they were kind of banned last year because of us. But we've been using them because they're not in the rule book. So yes, a Pressure Pro is generally for the higher echelon teams.
Right.
But basically, dump tower.
So the reason that I bring that up is because most people don't have that, right?
Right.
And
so
dump
tower.
That can fill, like, let's just say a 100-gallon trophy truck in 15 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So
about 80 gallons.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah. So those things are insane, right? And then you go all the way down to the manpower. You have, let's just say, 3 or 4 guys in every pit that has that capability. They have the tires. They have a tire changer guy. They have a guy that looks over the car. They have all of these resources, right? And then you go all the way back down to what you're talking about with the people that are in the pits with just the family and friends making sandwiches and just looking over the car. If they break down, cool, that was the end of the race.
Yep.
But I want to understand a little bit more in my brain what those benefits are for the actual drivers.
At the high level?
At any level, honestly.
So you want to go, James?
No, go ahead.
I'll just speak for, my experience. I've been very fortunate to be able to race with the high echelon teams. It's very different when you're at that level. It's fun. And it's exciting, and it's very passion-driven, but it's also a job. It's like you are paid to perform, and you have to perform. So what your job is you're basically going to see what race it is. I have, we have 15 guys, and we're going to put our guys strategic where we think their strong suits are. So we'll send like 5 guys out to remote pit. 2 of the guys there are like super good wrenches. The other 3 are going to help change a tire or whatever it needs to be. We'll send them a dump can, and then we're going to have all of our other main people at the main pit. So we'll do like the fuel at the main pit, which is like where all the trucks are at generally. On a side note, the reason Best in the Desert got mad at us is we were able to fill with my old race team with a Pressure Pro, which is a trophy truck system. We did 30 gallons in 4.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Ooh. So the whole
Crazy,
team,
right?
the whole row watched us fill this car. We were in, stab, out, and then everyone just is like, well, they can't use that. That's not fair. But
well, and technically it is fair if you let everybody use it, right? Like,
well, that's what I said. I said if it's not in the rules, anyone here can do it. So we're going to keep doing it.
And everybody needs to follow the rules, but I think that's kind of besides the point in the discussion that we're having. But like those resources, like we just had a couple comments come in. Cali Boy AZ Tech said that he's going to race the Mint 400 at one of these times, and he said that he also bought gas cans, 8 gallons with the red dump nozzles on them, and that's similar to what you use.
You can set up the 12s or the 8s. The smaller are great because if you only have one guy, or even some of the pits, right?
Yeah, it's
you gotta
heavy.
have a fire suit. So if you got one guy, you don't want to get DQ'd because me and you grab the can and we're just helping dump, right?
Right.
Now you got guys with no aprons or whatever their call is, at whatever race organization. So the small ones I really like because it's also easy for some guy to fill.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look at Cali Boy. He's even talking about right now. Like he's saying that it's going to save him 3 to 5 minutes just using those instead of a regular just fill can like we would use at the dunes, right? Just the number 5 gallon thing.
Also,
and he's doing all the mathematics, and he hasn't even gone to the races yet. That's pretty cool.
Well, there's a bonus to that. What James was saying, if you use a smaller can, depending on what course you're at, lighter is always faster.
Right.
So if you don't need a full tank of fuel, smaller can's going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
And on a side note, even though the team I was with, we filled in 4 seconds or whatever, we still got beat by people with dump cans. So it doesn't have to be that level.
And there's also, with the big show can come, big risk, big reward, right, for all these things. So if something goes wrong, and let's just say you don't have a dump on standby and all the fuel's in the tower and whatever may have happened, I mean, it can go that way too.
100%.
Yeah. Brett Serapis, what's up, man? Desert Whip says, I prefer to be a pit crew member. I don't have the patience or power in the driver's seat. That's actually one of the points I was going to bring up, so thank you very much for talking about that. There's a lot of people in the pits. Let's just say that you're at a race and there's 300 drivers. Well, there's probably, it's an exaggeration, but 1,000 guys in the pits, right? Because there's that many more people ratio-wise, and all of those people are helpers. They're good mechanics. Usually they're volunteers, and they have a certain skill set. So that portion of it is insanely cool. I love that. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, when I go, I'll just use my experience from the 500, right? We're getting fuel, and for us, which was a small group, you guys are on the other side of the mountains, I believe, and I'm getting fueled from my stepdad. Literally, my mom's handing me snacks, so this is family-oriented, right? Mm-hmm. Keeping it real there. But there was still, I want to say, 7 people at Valley T getting us ready for a crossover.
Yep.
And once again, small team. Some of these guys roll big.
Well, like you said, big risk with big teams.
Yeah.
You also get a big reward, but that big reward is so hard to reach. So you have this big mammoth team going down, and if you don't get that big reward, a lot of times it's a letdown. So
yeah, there's a lot of resources that were used to be able to 100%. Not achieve the main goal, right?
100%.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then, with the family environment, which a lot of the people that are watching the show are gonna use, you know what I mean? If I was gonna go down and race the Baja 500 right now, or any race for that matter, doesn't matter where it is, it would be my family and my friends, 100%, and they would all help me out. And I think that vibe is super cool because it. Not that the big teams don't have family and friends following them. They still have a good time and stuff. But when you go down there, you can always rest on that. No matter what, you went down, you had fun with your family, and then you went home, even if you didn't finish the race.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for being at a lower level. It's a great place to be. Like I was telling James earlier, I so much love going to like a snore event or Rage at the River or just a small local like District 38 race where it's all family.
Yep.
You don't see a semi truck. You don't see 100 chase trucks, and you don't see everybody with matching shirts and, you know, blue camo pants like the old Fluger days. It's everybody is just there for their family. And that's what, I mean, if we really think about it, this whole off-road racing thing is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be shared with your friends and family. So I actually enjoy that a lot more sometimes than going down with the big teams. Don't get me wrong, we have fun. But on a side note, I do enjoy the small teams just as much.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like I was telling James, one of the funnest trips that I've ever had was the Baja 500 with the whole KMC crew. Man, we had so much fun because we got to do so much cool little stuff that wasn't actually racing either. Like, but all right. So when you guys are going to go down to the races, like, what's the? Actually, let's do a comparison. So let's say that we're a family-oriented team. Like, what are you throwing in the back of the truck and the trailer to get down there?
I mean, you've seen it, but we got the dump cans. We got 5-gallon cans because we didn't have enough dump cans. Spares. Sleeping supplies. Like
Spares, you mean by spare tires?
Spare tires, yeah. Spare wheels and tires. Spare parts. A couple toolboxes. You know, just normal stuff. Honestly, just parts out of my garage. Nothing super special.
Yeah, so you just take, we'll call it the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just say 3 or 4 belts for your car.
Yep.
If you have, like, an extra shock, you'll bring an extra shock, like wheels and tires, anything like.
A weak link. If I've had a problem with this before, I should take a spare.
Yeah, axle.
Steering rack in the truck, like in the chase truck. But no shock. I've never had extra shocks. So, yeah, you know, just your kind of normal stuff. Tie rod and stuff on the car that you're racing. Radius rods, obviously, because you can clip a rock, but not too much.
And then, so what's the difference then with a top-level team? Let's just say, not even a trophy truck team. Let's just say a top-level UTV team. What are they bringing?
I think some of these guys are, you know, front diffs. Probably transmissions. I've seen transmissions in trucks. Steering rack, I think, is a no-brainer for most people to take that if you're using a stock one, you know, just to have an extra one.
Shocks, exhaust, like stuff like that.
I think I've seen turbos on people's chase trucks.
Suspension components.
Yeah.
I would take everything I had. If I had a spare anything, I had rear arms, front diff, transmission,
You'd bring the
alternator.
kitchen sink.
Yeah, the whole box truck's just full of spares.
Well, Chuck over there at Pro Eagle said a Pro Eagle jack would be nice too.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
There was actually a Pro Eagle jack on the last car I worked on.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
There you go. So, and then aside from that, so if you're a UTV team like me and I'm wanting to go down there and race the Baja 500, I would bring all my parts too. That sounds good. Then what is a massive team, like let's just say a Menzies or a McMillan or a Serapis team taken down there?
Which truck are we talking about?
Let's just say a trophy truck.
Oh, the chase truck or the hauler or like so. Basically, every chase truck. I don't know how many Bryce has or Luke probably has like 4, I think. It basically has all your oils. It'll have a spare track rod, tie rod. It'll have alternators, starters. Each truck should have a dump can. Each truck should have a jack, 2 impacts, spare tires, if I didn't already say that. And then little stuff like crank trigger sensors, you know, O2 sensors.
Oh, the $10 part that can take you out.
The $10 part that someone maybe, not on Luke's team because Road Dogg, I got you, but maybe they didn't zip tie the wire at the right spot and it rubbed through or whatever. But yeah, it's always something stupid.
We got a lot of comments coming in. Kurt Meacham said, Pressure Pro. Let's see here. John Hupper says, splash apron pressure systems is inherently more dangerous. Yes, very true. So that everybody needs to be safe out there. And Kurt said, good knowledge. People that get along with each other are an integral or even a lower level team. So yeah, you can't
100%.
have people fighting around, man.
No, man. And I'll tell you, and on top of that, a bad vibe is a vibe killer. You have to have just positivity. And it doesn't have to be like Mr. I'm so positive. It's just like hey man, we had a problem. Let's fix it. Let's go.
Right.
It's not, what are we going to do? Just like kick the ground. I'm like, off-road is inherently not easy.
Yeah,
right?
problem solvers every 5 seconds.
Solutions.
Exactly. So it's just no matter what happens, it's always a good vibe. Without a good vibe, it's hard to succeed.
Yeah, 100%. Adam Grunder said, yeah, just take a spare car if you have the way to do it.
Yeah, if you could do that.
I was going to say, and that was cheat code on our part. So,
Right.
like we were talking about what we had in our truck.
Yep.
We also did have the other truck with the donor car on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we kind of, sorry.
Which we did use the donor car.
Yeah.
Well, we had to, yeah.
Yeah. Hot Shoe, our boy Ryan Edwards.
We won't go down that again.
We're not going to go down that road. Okay, so and then Bobby says, Bobby Chacon said, what about money, LOL? Yeah, and all of this stuff does cost money. So that's kind of where we're going when we're having these open discussions. Is we're talking about the top level teams, right, that just have resources on resources. And then we're talking about somebody like me who would maybe just on the first time go down there and race the Baja 500, which I would love to do one of these days. But it does cost money, on just like you're saying, Bobby. So we're going to kind of go through all that stuff, and then at the end you can decide, how much it's going to take for you to be able to do it. Good is better than perfect is what John Hupper said. So a lot of times that is actually a really good statement, right? Because you're not going to have shit be perfect out in the middle of the desert.
No, and I think Ricky Johnson put it best in that Dust to Glory movie where he's talking over with that one dude who's changing the rear tires. Slower is faster. So if you just get it done, you'll make up exponentially down the road.
Yeah.
I could definitely agree with that. So we're taking pretty much everything we can down there. And then, so how many people are we loading up to go on my first Baja 500 race? Like, what can we do? Like,
How big's your wallet?
Well,
because we got rooms, we got chase trucks. Are we going to pre-run?
That's a good
That's
point.
an open-ended question.
Yeah, and then so what? And how many volunteers can take off the certain amount of time off of work? Yeah, and food.
Well, here's the thing: your volunteers all have to have a sweatshirt and a shirt.
Yeah, that says your name
Your race
on it.
team. Yep. So there's that.
Exactly.
We don't work for free.
That's pretty. Coors Light and T-shirts. It's Coors Light and swag.
Tacos?
Yeah, tacos.
Dude, you know how expensive tacos gets for the whole team?
Dude, it does,
Pretty pricey,
right?
man.
I don't. Ask Edwards.
We're going to have to ask the KFC guys. Our camp, the guy that won Class 10 at the Baja 1000 last year had one chase truck and a guy to fuel. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Can be done.
there's a possibility, but like my chances are pretty slim, right? I feel like luck is totally on that dude's side.
Well, here's the thing.
Adam Grunder works for beer.
Beer's always good too. I always say, what's your end game? Like, are we here to compete or are we here to have fun, right? Because if we're here to compete, bust out the wallet because it's going to take a lot. If we're going to go out and have fun, we want to finish the race, hope for the best, expect the worst, have my family with me, you can do it fairly inexpensively.
That's going to probably be my vibe if I go down and ever do the Baja 500.
There's nothing wrong with that vibe, dude.
I kind of like that vibe,
It's the way to. I think it's the way to do
Makes
it.
my heart smile.
Well, here's a story that it's real short. This is a perfect example of not having a huge chase team. I was in a Class 1. We're in Mexico, and I got a flat. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. No team, nothing. So I get out, I throw the impact out, and I'm starting to change the tire. And I look over, and someone's bringing me the tire. And I look up, and there's two dudes hopped out of the bush, pulled the tire off the car for me, wheeled it over. I put it on, and I just gave them the tire. Cut my tire change time in half.
Nice.
And I was gone.
So it's just two random guys?
Just two random guys in Mexico. So that's exactly why I say you can do it with nothing.
Dude, those are my guys.
Dude, it was good.
I'm going to go real quick because I had the same scenario. Me and Cody Raiders were coming through Hamul down there, bringing it home for the 500, and it's like 3 in the morning or something.
Yeah?
Blows a rear axle.
Uh-oh.
We clip something, whatever. You hear the axle slapping. I'm like, okay, fucking axle, right? So I get out, and I'm going at it. We have no lights with us, right? We might have had a phone or something. I don't know, a small light. And here comes this dude out of the bush. Big old mag light. And I'm like, he kind of catches me off guard, you know?
Right.
What's he want, you know? And he's like, oh. And he starts getting after it with me. And probably cut the time in half to change the rear axle on the Razor.
At night, it's so dark out there, too.
Dudes with skills just popping out of the bushes?
I think he was like pumped on whatever tool, something, and I'm like, keep it.
Just have it.
It's all you, man.
Dude, that's
And we
so
split.
sick.
It was so sick.
And so those are like the stories that, like, I mean, if you were a professional team, those things could still happen, right? But
Yeah.
those are the stories that really mean a lot. Like, I love those things when they come about. So what are my chances of actually finishing a race if it's just like this Class 10 car? If I got a chase truck and one or two dudes with me,
It's no matter how. It's just you never give up.
you just keep going and going
Just
and going.
keep going. My wife's first Baja 1000 was a 36-hour race for me.
Whew.
We ripped the right front off the car. We fabbed new tabs down there, and 36 hours. But we finished right before they closed the gate.
Dude,
Cool.
kudos.
Wow.
It's all about how much you put in.
That's
Yeah.
pretty badass, man. So all those stories make me feel like, and we talked to one of the crew members on the SMG Motorsports crew, the 4-wheel parts crew that I was down in San Felipe. His name is Tommy. He's a Mexican dude, and he lives down there in Mexico, and he races Class 11. I forgot what he said, but he's competed in the Baja 1000, I don't know how many times, like let's just say 30 times or 20 times. Like, and he's basically finished them all, and like he was one of the guys on the forefront. You know those I think they're called tracks or something. They're those little boards that you put on the back.
Max tracks.
No, they're not the tires.
I call them stuck sticks. But
Yeah,
they're
the
like
stuck
that.
sticks. Yeah, They're the boards that you just like. Is
Yeah.
it called Max Tracks? I don't
think
know.
they
That's
are.
a company. Yeah.
So anyways, what they used to do back in the day is they would get like a 2x4, and they would flip beer because they drink beer. They'd flip the beer bottle caps upside down, and they'd screw in the beer bottle caps into the board, and then so they have their Max Tracks on a piece
That's a
of
good
2x4,
idea.
and just drive out on the beer bottle caps.
That's a good idea.
So, like, all of those things are, like, resourceful, right? Like, and super cool because they were able to, I mean, they've completed so many Baja 1000s. I mean, the dude, he could tell you any single trail down there. It's crazy.
Well, it just goes back to what you said with problem solving.
Yeah.
I have a problem. What am I going to do to figure it out with the
Right.
tools I have?
Insanely good problem solvers. And they can find fruit on any cactus down there in Mexico. So, that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Sean says, Keith, remember Grandpa Dick did the Baja and Ron in the 240Z from the Fast Junkyard? They always went for the fun, not the win.
So that's actually my mom.
Oh, cool.
My grandpa Dick. The whole reason I got into fabrication was the Datsun. My grandfather was a huge Datsun guy back in the days, and they would race, rally, all that stuff. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh,
Baja
cool.
1000 and 240Z.
So they were the ones that taught you to be a MacGyver.
Well, unfortunately, no, but I didn't have the super close with my grandfather until he was older, but yeah.
That's cool. John Hupper said, yeah, Chase last year's 1000 with one of the RS1 Challenge teams. 5 people with 2 Chase trucks and used BFG pits. So
Nice.
let's talk about that, too, because we just talked about this on the History of Off-Road show with Bob Bauer. And we talked about a lot of the stuff that BFG does. I mean, BFG is integrated literally into the desert in Mexico, right? So if I am going down there, I can utilize their services, too.
Yeah.
So what do they do if I want to go down there?
Can I just say real quick before we get into that? There's a reason I bought a Ford truck,
Yeah?
and there's a reason I put KMC wheels on it,
Yeah.
and there's a reason I put BFGs on it. And it's because all of those companies support our industry.
100%.
So just going to that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you very much for doing that,
That's
KMC.
good.
KMC, well,
What
you know, we love Rhino.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, going back to that question.
So, like, if I'm going down there and it's, again, my first Baja 500, how can I utilize the BFG stuff?
Oh, BFG's great, dude. BFG's great. So basically, you just sign up to be on their thing. You have to run BFG tires, obviously, which I think you should. But they generally mark the course in Mexico, and then they'll strategically set up a semi where you can give them dump cans, you can give them tires, you can give them whatever you want. So when you roll in there, you just radio in like 5 miles ahead, say, hey, I'm coming in. They'll have all that stuff out for you. And hopefully there's no line, so you can just roll in, they'll change your tires or give you fuel or whatever you need, and then you're off. And you don't even need a chase crew there.
That's pretty sick, though, right?
It's epic.
And plus, like, let's just say I do have my chase crew, or James, like, when we were chasing you guys in the 500, and you had to stop in the median, like, or in between wherever we were
Right.
at, you could hit them up.
Yeah, or if you, let's say you're having a car difficulty, I don't know. You know, these cars can go into limp mode or overheat, whatever it may be. You can pull in and you got generator and lights, you know, maybe, and another set of hands.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, so and then I want some of the people that are watching the show right now too. BFG Pit books and access notes are priceless. Yeah, totally.
Yes.
So yeah, Robert, we talked about that, and Bob Bauer showed me some of the. I should have brought him some of the old books
Yeah.
that he actually made.
Oh,
Dude,
really?
like he drew them up, like with the path. Dude, it
Really?
was so sick.
Bob Bauer's a savage.
Dude, he is, man. Yeah, so one of the things that I want to talk about that I had such a good time was being part of the crew when you and Ryan Edwards went down there and raced at the Baja 500. I thought it was fantastic. So, with not your racer hat on, like, what makes you want to be a crew guy instead of a racer? I think that's a really important question.
It's just experience, man. And being in, let's just put it this way, like, I don't know, if you got a free ride to go down to Mexico, eat tacos, chase a truck around, hang out in Ensenada or San Felipe.
Yep.
And, dude, I mean, even, when I've been chasing for Ryan or other people, like, just doing the crossover in the chase truck's cool, It's
Yeah.
like a new experience here or there,
And when you're talking about the crossover, it's like this mountain range that you go over. It's got steep sides, like just a
Yeah.
dirt road, and you can cruise over. It's pretty cool. Like it's almost like four-wheel driving while you're chasing.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then you also learn, like you said, like BFG with notes in and out. Like you learn more of the peninsula in Mexico, and this does transfer over to like Laughlin too, right? Or some parts. Just knowing where you're at. So let's say if you are in the car and you break down, hey, I'm right here. I know where there's an access road out of here.
Yep. Yep.
There's a lot to learn, man, and what a great experience. Like that beats being at home for the weekend.
Yeah,
right?
because you get all the behind-the-scenes
Right.
stuff, right?
I thoroughly enjoy hanging out with good people down in Mexico. It's a great time.
and
Because
even
you're
if it's
doing
not,
what- Go ahead.
even if it's not Mexico, I mean, even like let's just say Vegas to Reno or wherever it is.
Yeah, if it's something you love to do, let's take
Yeah.
off-road out of it. If it's anything you love to do, like people go buy a Harley, they hang with the Harley guys, they
Right.
get dirt bikes. Dude, I loved riding my dirt bike with my bros. Every weekend we go somewhere. It's the same thing.
Yep.
So go and experience something like the Baja 1000 or the 500 with your friends. It's unreplaceable.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of guys that keep coming back for more, right? I know, like, well, let's just put Scanlon Motorsports Group and the 4 Wheel Parts guys. They have a lot of guys that just come every single time they go down to Mexico or wherever it is. Like, they did it at KOH. They do it at all these places. So these guys just love being there, right? And I think my question was a little bit more along the lines of the personality, maybe that you have to be a crew guy instead of a racer. And I don't want to say it's different because those guys love racing no matter what it is, right? But like we just received a comment that just came through. Bryce Menzies, what's up, man? Hope you feel better. So me now, I know that I'm better in a position behind the scenes, right? That doesn't mean that I don't want to race. Like I could go out there and still wheel. I could probably help do a Baja 500 or whatever it is. But I feel important behind the scenes. Is that why some people choose to be in that position?
I did. I gave up my trophy truck seat kind of unwillingly. But in the end, I realized, hey, man, I'm getting older. I actually enjoy just being in the pits, chasing. I enjoy that more than the level of trophy trucks is at right now is so extreme. Like Bryce's co-dog, Oren, is a savage. I couldn't do his job anymore.
Dude,
like
not
back
even.
in the day, I struggled with it, trying to be the best because you have to be the best. And I don't think I could do that anymore. So I enjoy being a chase guy now and crew chief or whatever it is. I just enjoy it.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And then and I feel like that too. And like everybody has their position, right? And that's one of the questions. Good transition, actually, Mila, is like, when you have any of these things, even if it's your family, let's just say it's mom, dad, brother, sister, you driving and you have a co-driver, one of your buddies, right? Or you have a top-level team, it's always important to have a structure in what people are going to do, right? So
100%.
maybe explain a little bit more about that, like, because James, you have a structure in everybody that's around you, know, like, so, and then Mila, you tell us too.
I mean, I think that it's, I don't know if I'm going backwards to the other question, but while you're chasing, I've just sat in the back of chase trucks with dudes, right? With two dudes that these guys are not race car drivers. They're chasing, and it's a whole nother race.
Right.
Like Vegas to Reno.
That's true.
Dude, sometimes, and I've done it, once again, for my buddies, hauling ass with a trailer on the back, truck on the chip, 99, I don't even know where I'm at in the middle of that desert, of Death Valley, and trying to beat them to a pit.
Yep.
So there's this whole nother set of, program and rules that kind of flies with those guys. And
there's guys that are strong at that.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So those chase guys are like, dude, I got this.
Yeah, and I've sat in the truck with those guys, and I'm like, holy cow, these guys know it's literally logistical racing on the sidelines.
Yeah,
it is.
100%.
There's a whole nother piece to that.
Stronghold Motorsports, what's up, man? How are you?
Yeah.
So going back then, when you have like that setup, and those guys are, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe that fierce, right? Like they're that good at chasing.
passion.
Yeah, passionate, right? Like, how does the structure work, though? Do you say, all right, Bo, Larry, and Tom, like you each have your own position. You're going to fuel, you're going to drive the truck, you're going to look over the car. Like, how does it work the best if I'm going to direct my family when I go down there to race my first Baja 500?
You got me on that one.
Well,
I think that depends on what everyone's kind of bringing to the table,
Yeah.
Well, I've seen it specifically in your crew, like let's just say like Chuck and your mom, and you said your mom was handing you sandwiches,
Right.
and then Chuck's looking over the car. Maybe Subi Mike is fueling the car,
Right.
like so everybody knows what they're going to be good at. But like, how does that happen for the first timers? Because you've done it a few times.
Very scarily.
Yeah, sometimes it just, like.
Just throw it in the hat. Like,
Yeah, I mean, even I've seen random dudes.
rock paper scissors.
Random dudes filling the car, right? Where you're like, is the car full?
Yeah.
But it just depends, I think, on circumstance and where you're at.
Well, hopefully you can get like a core group of guys.
Right.
Like when I raced with Tisco in the early mid 2000, 2008-ish, we had a core group of guys, and every time you had these guys come, you knew, okay, this dude's fueling, this dude's going to do this. You already have it set up. But if you don't have that, you kind of have to have a right-hand man, because if you try and do it yourself.
The crew chief.
Well, the crew chief needs a right-hand man, always. Okay. If it's just the crew chief, your stuff's going to get dropped through the cracks. It always does, because the crew chief can't do everything. He has to rely on somebody to help him.
Yeah, especially when there's a problem.
Especially when there's a problem, because the crew chief can't. What if he's like 25 miles up the road and there's a problem at the pit? He's got to turn around and come back if he's got a right-hand man to maybe steer the circus when he's not around.
Got it.
But yeah, like James says, sometimes you just wing it. You're like, I'll do this. I'll try it. No guarantees, but
so I know there's a lot of winging it, like when you're down there, and then that's a position that everybody takes on, right? Like if you can't figure it out, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to figure it out. Like,
right.
But well, Adam just said here, like chasing can be more dangerous than racing, but it's very important to have a chase meeting.
Oh, 100%.
Or some sort of logistical
100%.
meeting, right?
Yeah,
so
he's very right.
We did that for the Baja 500, right? So what's the normal move when you go to a desert race for you guys?
I mean, we're pretty loose, right? Like we went to the 500, this, and that, and like we kind of threw together a game plan. I think this is where the chase trucks are going.
I don't think you're giving yourself as much credit as you should, but let's keep going with the loose part of it.
Well, we didn't win, so let's not get too hefty into the credit. I just think that it kind of fell into place for us. Like we do have, for our buddy Damien, we literally call him the fueler, but he doesn't roll with us to Mexico, right? But at the Mint, whatever, he's always there. So that's cool.
Right.
He's got like his delegated thing,
Yep.
And I think that sometimes that takes time to find the right person. You can also go down there as a, let's say, mom and pop race group.
Well, you're not going to pick the little sister that's 8 years old to fuel the car.
Right.
But I've also gone down there with groups, and there's just too many people that don't have direction.
Dude,
so then you're going like,
so much.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Herding cats, right?
Yeah.
So I think that can cause an issue too. So
I think you need to group them up in trucks, right? Let's say you have 4 trucks and be like, okay, you 5 are here, you 5 are here, you 5 are here, and it's based on what their skill level is, like we were talking about. And then you're like, okay. And
Yeah,
then
you put like a veteran and then an amateur and then 2 guys in between.
Exactly. And then at the pit meeting, generally, people are rolling into the race. Generally, the pit meeting is right before dinner, the last night before, because you got to keep all those cats herded in. Because generally, if you're in Vegas, you got to keep them before race day.
Yeah.
So right before race day.
Make sure they're not getting twisted.
Right, because they'll show up a race morning, which I can't say I haven't done it. Totally hungover. And then you'll be like, okay, you're going to go to pit 1, you're going to go pit 3. And then you kind of just break down the race for the pit crews per truck. Not necessarily per person, because sometimes you want to let the truck divvy up their jobs. You'd be like, okay, well, you need to be at pit 3. You guys divvy up the jobs.
Instead of micromanaging it.
Right, because then that kind of builds a little camaraderie in the truck. And it would kind of build a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Well, this dude knows his stuff. Maybe I should listen to him.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the pit, that dude's like the pit captain per se.
Pit boss.
Yep. And then they'll just get it done.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Air Dog, you bring up a good point. Give the heli crew tacos when refueling. I can definitely agree with that one. John actually said roles and responsibilities should be discussed before you leave so no one's surprised, but have to be adaptable when shit hits the fan too. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much what you're saying right now, Mila.
Yeah, it's it just goes back to using the tools you have to problem solve.
Air Dog says, yeah, stay away from hogs and heifers before the race.
Sometimes you lose a guy or two the night before the race too, like in Mexico.
Yeah, guys get sick or whatever.
Or they hit the club too hard. You know what I'm saying?
They should mandatory close Paris de Noche before a race.
I wasn't going to drop any names.
I mean,
it should, right? But you're right though. Like that is true, and it doesn't like as much as we make fun. Like the guys are partying too hard. Like stuff does get bad, right? Like maybe some dude's got to go home because there was an emergency, or maybe some dude gets sick. Like whatever happens, you have to be able to have everybody else on board, be able to switch and manage those positions too. It really makes me, just talking about this makes me feel more comfortable with doing all this stuff. So maybe if I have an opportunity, I won't just bring my family. I'll bring some more of my friends and stuff like that. Everybody's going to want to go because they're going to want to have a good time, right? How do I filter out the people that I don't want to go and the people that do want to go? Let's just say I have 10 people and I need to pick 5.
Pit meeting at the crib.
Pit meeting at the crib?
So check it out. When I grew, growing up, Dale Eberts, he had the Class 1 car.
Yeah.
He lived next door to my boys, Spencer and Chase, the Meineke twins, okay? So those guys, I don't know if it was Thursday night or Wednesday night, but that crew was there. And it was solid on that Wednesday night, whatever they were prepping or doing, drills and meetings. And I mean, some guys go to the line as well, like so unprepared. And I'm not going to take myself out of this because I've been in a scramble a few times.
I think all of us have.
It's off-road.
With the harnesses ain't even set up, right? And you're like, oh, my God. Like, now you got to do the whole thing, right? So the more you can put out front in preparation to do it, I think is the best bet.
And I think you'll know. You'll be like, oh, this dude hasn't talked to me in like 6 months, but he's thinking a free ride to Mexico. I don't think he should go. Yeah,
that's a good point, right? And so you can just filter it all out. Adam says that they pitted right behind Tisco, and they had 14 guys for TT team and had 3 TTs hit that pit. The truck teams combining of the 3 trucks that hit that pit, also Rob Mack was in that pit. So you can share resources, clearly.
100%.
So that's a really good thing to talk about. So let's just say, again, this is my first Baja 500. I don't know that many racers, you know what I mean? I don't really understand. Well, maybe when I go to tech and contingency, I'll throw it out there to a couple people and say, hey, you're an experienced team. Can you give me some advice? Or can you tell me what you think would be good? And then depending on how that conversation goes, I can say, oh, well, where are you guys going to pit? We might just pit kind of near you just in case we need some help. Or we're going to pit in the opposite spot that you guys are, and maybe we could share some resources. Right. You guys can borrow my team, and I'll borrow your team.
Right.
Like, those are pretty important, right?
Well, that is very important, but it's also important who you do that with, because there's been times where we've done that with people, and they're like, yeah, if you need anything, we'll help you out. And then as soon as their car goes through, later, we're like, dude, we need help. We're like, oh, we got to chase our truck. We're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to, improvise here. So there is that. But there's also like Baja pits, not super expensive outfits that they're like BFG or
Yeah.
Tisco, and they do the Baja Pits is really a bike guy. They started out doing a lot of bike guys. So UTVs, I'm sure they do a lot of now. So you could do that also.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you guys are on the BFG topic, but same like Checkers, and is Fair
Yeah.
still rolling?
I haven't seen Fair, but Checkers, yeah.
And then somebody
So-
said Mag 7.
Mag
Yeah.
7,
There's plenty of
Locos
opportunity.
Mocos guys. Those,
Yeah.
those guys are great.
Yeah,
That's an awesome name,
and
too.
Yeah.
throwing. I think it's a small amount of money really for what you're doing.
It's a steal.
Right.
I know Carlos. He runs US Wheel down in San Diego. He runs Baja Pits. He's a great dude, and he doesn't make money on it. He just does it for the passion. He's
Yeah.
like, this is basically just covering my guys' food, some fuel for us, and maybe a day missed of work.
I've been stuck in one of their pits at, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning or so, eating cheeseburgers, and I was so stoked.
Yeah, but
Like,
probably the best
dude.
cheeseburger in your
Grilling.
life, dude.
Homeboy couldn't even see me. He was grilling up.
Really?
Oh, it was killer.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about since we kind of went over that a little bit. Like, I feel like I have a decent amount of confidence in the way that I'm going to operate this program. But now I got to go back and I got to talk with a person like James or maybe you to help prep the car to get a vehicle. Like, I just bought this vehicle at the dealership. Like, I don't know what to do now.
Did you get a warranty?
There you go. See, pro tip: get the warranty. But yeah, like I just bought the vehicle at the dealership. What the fuck do I do now? Like, where am I at? Like, how do I get this car set up to go to Baja?
Rule book.
Okay, so you get a rule book,
That's the first thing you got to do.
and then where am I going to find the rule book? I'm going to go to the website, and then I need to figure out: do I drop off the rule book with a builder? Like, where do I find these builders, and like, how do I do this?
Well, from what it sounds like, if you have a Polaris, you call James, and he hooks you up.
Dude,
I'm into it.
yeah. Well, James works
There's-
on all the cars, but he's
There's
not a big YXZ fan though.
I'm just a Polaris guy, man.
Big Polaris guy.
There's a ton of shops, and to be completely transparent, my favorite, and I've said this before, probably on the show, my favorite car I've ever seen was Brandon Sims' 16 turbo 2-seater.
That was a good
It
car.
was it had like a bolt-on cage with
Yeah.
door bars welded through it to
Yep.
pass tech, window nets, and probably the first like Harman underneath the seat fuel
Yeah.
cells, just
Yep.
for making it through.
So I follow the rule book. I put a fuel
Amazing.
cell in it, and I talk to dude. It's so cool to see that. Well, and now they have the rally class, right? So if I was not wanting to race against the pros, and I'm going down there just to have fun and finish the race, right? I could race in a rally class. So if I look through the UTV magazine or go online and I find a shop, preferably James's shop, and I drop off the car, what do I need to get done to it to be able to go race in the rally class down there?
Some JL Audios, I think, is the get-go, right? The
Dude,
first
yeah.
one?
Slap some of those in there. I'd be having a good time.
What's the one? The wakeboard tower one?
Yeah, dude, those are loud too. You could probably hear those through your helmet, like just cranked the whole time you're going through Mexico.
I think you want to just start with, I get it all the time, so we'll just use the orange car here. We
Okay.
built for my buddy Mikey.
This is a
And
race car?
It was built to be the pro stock score class.
Okay.
Which-
So that's like the rally class in the
Yes, that's
Okay.
what Mike Caffro did this last season. So it's honestly got the stock OEM arms on it,
Okay.
upgraded ball joints, and then all the safety additives plus a fuel cell because you got to get through some,
right.
mileage. So
And it's not that, I mean, it looks almost stock, dude. Like it looks like I could just get in that car, with a couple modifications and
Yeah.
get it done.
I mean, you don't have to go extravagant like the big mega seats in it, which are really bitchin', but
And and then so Cali Boy AZ Tech, he said a lot of the family teams are actually building the cars themselves, and that's that's the
100%.
approach. That's the approach that I took even when I was racing professional, Lucas short course and stuff. We built all of our own cars. We had guys come to help us. Like I had guys coming to help us weld and like certain things that I wasn't good at or perfected at, but I would do everything myself because I just didn't have the budget, right? And I wasn't looking to go get more budget. I was just looking to complete the job. Yeah. So,
Well, there's something to be said for that, too, because when you work on your own stuff, when it goes bad, you're like, oh, I got this figured out because I know how this goes together. When you don't know how to work on your own stuff and you're paying James or I to do it for you, that's great. We love it. But when it all goes bad, you might need to know a little bit about it.
yeah, exactly. And then so going on that same note, like you follow the rule book, you build the car, you get in all these things, and there's so many details that I want to make sure that everybody understands. Like the rule book is very important, like very, very important, because you got to read every single little line. Like if you're just going to Cliff's Notes through it, you're going to miss something. So you got to read every single line and go through it with the fine-tooth comb. And it doesn't matter what class you race. If you're racing a trophy truck, all the way down to the dirt bike class, like you got to have it like dialed in.
Bill Savage will let you know too.
Yeah, exactly. And you do not want to be down at the races, whether it's a stateside race like John Huppers is saying, do a stateside race first, or a race down in Mexico. You don't want to be at the starting line going, oh shit, now I can't race. Like you want to get it done first. So what about like if I build a car myself, should I have somebody check it over? Should I have somebody look at it? Like, what's the best way for me to go into this event?
I would pre-tech. Knowing what I know now and the amount of these cars I've built and then sent someone on their way, they get banged around in tech because whatever may happen, where usually you can get through there and go, hey, you know what? We missed this. We forgot something. Oh, it wasn't in the updated rule book. We had last year's printed maybe. We'll fix it on the next go-around. But I see a lot of people just get pummeled because they can't talk their way through it.
I was just going to elaborate on that. It's when I go through tech, and this is a tip for everybody, you start with a joke, right? You set the tech guy off with a smile.
Or a sandwich or a Coca-Cola.
Well, then they know it's a bribe. But if you go in there with a smile on your face, a happy-go-lucky, hey, man, what's up? Oh, long day, blah, 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 great weather. If they're smiling, they're less likely to go, dude, you're not going through.
Yeah.
You're not going through. If you go in there like, dude, I just paid all this money and blah, 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 and you start getting huffy, they're like, well, now you're really not going through.
Don't be the dickhead in tech, ever. Doesn't matter what race you go to. Even if you're racing a bicycle, don't be a dick.
I've skated, I'm not going to say any bodies, sanctioning bodies, but I've skated through tech just by making the dude laugh, so take it for what it's worth.
But that's just a good way to be in life, right? B. Bailey 17 says, what's up, Mila?
What's up, Brandon?
So I'm feeling a little bit more confident now that I got this car built, and I'm getting ready to go to my first race. I need to make sure I have all the extra parts, like James said. I need to have some extra tires and all that stuff. What do I do when I'm going down there? Like, actually, you know what? What do I do at the pre-meeting that I'm having in my local area with all my guys? I take them to dinner, a week before the race or whatever. Do I say, you're bringing your truck, John? Steve, you're bringing your truck. We're putting 10 tires in this one. We're putting 3 tires in this one. Like, how do I divvy up? Like, where am I going with all this stuff? Because
I think
we don't have chase trucks. We just got dudes with pickups.
Dudes with pickups. I think it's more or less, hey, man, you want to use my truck? I could do this. And then you're like, okay, well, can we do this with your truck? I'd like to put 30 tires in it or whatever you want to throw in there. And then you're like, okay, so now this dude's set. Okay, what about Bill? Bill, are you okay with me running this in your truck? And are you okay taking your truck down the scary roads through San Quintin all the way down through, what's the border?
What one?
Halfway down, where you have to have a visa.
The south?
Guerrero Negro. The roads through Guerrero. Are you okay with taking your truck down through Guerrero Negro? If he says, okay, well, then we're going to throw all your stuff down there too.
Got it.
So it's more or less an agreement if they're willing to do that with their vehicles, because the roads down there can get really gnarly.
Yeah, dude. Those get so gnarly down south. Well, so just divvy it up and kind of just like manage whatever you can with the people that you have involved.
100%. And put the best people in the best situation. Like, let's say Bob's been down there 10 times. He's familiar with Mexico but doesn't know it. You don't want to send Bob out in the middle of, remote pit 15 miles down a dirt road off of a highway out in the middle of nowhere. You want him to be kind of around a group of people, like a city or a town.
That's a really good thing to bring up, too, because no matter who you're with or what race you're at, there's always going to be bad cell phone coverage, no matter where it is. So
100%.
It's not like you can just open up maps and get out of there.
And not everyone has an MSAT.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you have to know where you're at, and you have to have good understanding of north, south, east, and west, where the sun rises and the sun sets. Like all of your rudimentary skill sets, right?
Well, generally what we'll do is if a guy brings his truck, we'll set up a small GPS with the course map in there for him, just kind of zip tie it in or whatever he needs in his daily. So it'll have a course map on there so he can kind of see, okay, if I get to this race mile, I might be able to take that road out to access it or whatever. So they kind of have a little guidance.
Manny Boy has actually brought up a really good point. Go shake the car down first.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
But it is a Polaris, so I mean there should be no problems, right?
If time allows.
Yeah, and
Manny.
Manny, that's actually one of the questions that we have here is like, no matter what happens, everything that you do will always be last minute. It doesn't matter if you start a year in advance, you will still have something to do the day before the race. It makes no difference what you do.
Sometimes,
all the time?
Just kidding.
99% of the time, all the time?
It depends on how structured your team is. A team like Bryce's, you'll never see Bryce go down with a half-assed job.
No,
it never happens. But I've seen trophy truck teams that will go down to Ensenada and mount the body in Ensenada because they're that far behind.
Yeah.
Not naming names.
But that does happen, though.
It happens, man.
And there's a lot of the side-by-side guys, especially me if I'm brand new, right? I don't know all the boxes to check. I literally have no idea. This is going to be my first time I go down there, right? So I'm kind of just winging it all the way around. So all of the tips that you guys are giving me are awesome, first of all. Everybody that's joining the show is really giving a lot of good tips, too. But I get the car shaken down, kind of get ready to go, and then get everybody set up the week before. I think I'm feeling pretty good to get down there. But I also don't have all the confidence because I've never done it.
Checklists, man. So sometimes, like when I was crew chief for my last team, I would be laying in bed and everything's cool. Oh, dude, write that down. Because the next morning I could forget to put that on the truck or could forget to do that. So on my phone, it's in my pocket, but I have a race checklist of everything that I need to have in a chase truck before it leaves.
Dude, that's such a good thing to have. Yeah, so we had like prep sheets, we had setup sheets, we had checklists, we had everything, and we had a structure in our team that you would go through the checklist every single time the vehicle entered or exited the track, right? And one person signed off on it, and then another person had to sign off on what they did.
Yeah.
So there's always double checking the checklist, right? So it was just throughput. So no matter what happens, somebody was always accountable. And that doesn't mean that you have to be like that. You don't have to structure it like perfect like that. But
the more organized you are,
the more it helps you cross the finish line.
It made me think of something. We were talking about the BFG books. Someone said that they're priceless. But with that BFG book, every chase truck should have a, let's say, pit book. And it's got the registration, the insurance.
Yep.
It's got the checklist of everything that's on the truck. It's got, hey, this truck coming through could possibly have, let's just say, a loose tie rod by this mile or Can-Am or whatever, Polaris. It takes a 7/16 wrench or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. But maybe some tips to help you get to that part on the car with what you need so it can go on down the road.
That's actually a really good point to bring up. So there was a few times when we were chasing James and Ryan down in the Baja for the Baja 500, and we actually had to wait until we had radio communication with James to understand what we needed to do because he had the knowledge inside the car in the driver's seat that we didn't have in the truck. So he would say, we need this tool to do this job at this, whatever, pit stop or whatever it was. So it would have been cool had we had that information beforehand. Not that every single situation can be figured out beforehand, but the checklist would have definitely helped.
But from what I know, a problem on the UTVs is axles.
Right.
Okay, so to change an axle, boom, here's your checklist. You need these tools, and this is the sequence to do it.
Yeah, super good.
For anybody, I guess. It'd be like a Haynes manual for UTV on the race course.
Dude, that's a good point to bring up. So I've seen like dudes like Caden Danbury, one of our good friends, youth Polaris Razor driver. He actually practices at his house with his family, like with his dad, like changing axles or doing those things, or has people come over and like practice filling it and like doing all that stuff.
Super smart.
So they do practice runs of all dry runs.
Super smart.
It's cool, especially because he's a kid, right?
Dude.
Yeah.
Super smart.
Let's see. John Hubbard said, racing tracks is actually great for chasing too. I haven't used that. Have you guys?
No. I remember back in the day, which I think it was black and white back then, we had Eye on Earth, and we had these they were like little, almost like iPads, and you'd follow the truck, but then it had like little roads and stuff. you could follow. But
What's the usual thing that the chase truck guys use?
lead nav is phenomenal now.
Have you used that?
I have used it, yeah.
Is it pretty good?
It's cool because it's simpler, you know. You can use it on your cell phone or the iPads.
Yeah.
And you can have there's an added antenna, right?
Yeah.
If you want to use the puck or...
So one of the things that we did on one of the trophy truck teams is we had the regular fish finder, the Lowrance, and then we put the lead nav on an iPhone, and it has audio. So it'll tell you the turns, so that takes half the job off the co-dog. So he can also give you turns, but not have to give you every single turn, so he can monitor everything around.
Oh, so he can take a break and look at vehicle stuff
and then still have the audio there calling turns or straights or whatever you put into the lead nav that you want to call.
Dude, that's pretty sick. I never knew that it did that.
Dude, the guys in the trophy truck fields right now, it's just obscene what we're doing or what they're doing. I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I want to see some of that stuff. All right, so going on that same subject then, Mila, is like, what does it take? Actually, let's not use the trophy truck as the example, but we'll go on the same kind of path here. Is what does it take to get my UTV on the race course? Like, am I setting up 6 months in advance? Am I going a year in advance? Like,
I think you got to get a game plan, and this is what I always say, because back when Dust to Glory came out, the very next Baja 1000, there was like 1 million dirt bikers. Like everyone wanted to do the Baja 1000. It was crazy. But
the next coolest thing?
Yeah, because everyone saw it. They're like, oh, I can do it. I can be Mouse McCoy. And it was a show. So anyways, what I recommend, this is just me, my own personal opinion, I would pick short races in the States.
Okay.
Because the Baja, even the best prepped multi-million-dollar teams have problems in Baja. But they'll come to the States and just wax the course like it's nothing. It's the craziest thing because everything that you don't think is going to happen in Baja happens in Baja. To get some experience driving the car and knowing the car and knowing the characteristics and knowing the weak points and knowing my hardcore crew that I can count on, I suggest doing a couple States races, whether they're big or small, just to get the feet wet. And then you're like, okay, I want to do the 500 or the 1,000 or whatever. That's my opinion.
I think that's. What do you think, James?
I agree with that.
John said the same thing.
There is, I don't want to take away from the question because I agree 100% with that. Like using the side-by-sides, growing with these, grassroots racing, motocross tracks, then works racing, going to like the DP4 stuff even recently, like smaller,
So develop the skill set before I go down.
Yeah.
But you have the skill set, right? I mean,
Well,
you're old factory.
Let's take my skill set out of the equation though. Let's just pretend I'm Joe from
Copy.
buying a thing at the dealership because that's truthfully what I want to explain to a lot of the people that are watching the show because they're going to have questions that I already know the answers to and I want to pretend like I don't know the answers right now. So I think genuinely, and I've really I've done Laughlin races and stuff that are somewhat desert races, but I've never raced like and I only completed I think 3 miles of the Silver State 300, so it wasn't very good until the car burnt down. But
that's no good.
Let's just say that I do want to take your guys' advice.
Right.
What race am I going to in the United States?
Oh, Rage at the River all the way.
Is that the good one?
Dude, I love Rage at the River.
Where's that?
It's a good time. It's in Laughlin.
Okay.
But it's like the end of the year. Everyone's just wearing down the prep they left on their truck. It's families. I mean, every now and again, you'll get a couple big dogs that are just burning off their prep.
I'm coming in with my brand new whip, dude. The IMG
yeah.
Motorsports just built.
Yeah.
Rage at the River is a good time. It's
How
just
many
a good
miles is it?
atmosphere. I think it's
150 or something?
It's 4 laps. The 40-mile laps.
Oh, okay.
They
So
can get
120 or
out of
something?
it?
No, I'm thinking mid-2000s. I don't
No,
remember.
Now,
it's like
now
18.
Laughlin's down to like 18.
Yeah, it's not a lot,
Maybe.
but it's a good time.
So it's 100 miles. It's 60 to 100 miles.
It's Laughlin, dude.
But that would be a good one, though, right? Because I would still have to pit.
I would not suggest that as a first race.
No?
Not in a side-by-side.
All right, okay.
Laughlin's
Where am I
gnarly.
going then, James?
Laughlin's gnarly but fun.
I think like
And I don't like Laughlin anyways, but
one of the I think Moore's doing like a night race maybe this next month. Something like that.
Cali Boise Tech said AMA District 38. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One of the district races, those guys are having fun doing that, but
Yeah, and the DP4 stuff, the legacy stuff.
if
I
the
like
end
Legacy.
game is to go race in Mexico, then get it all out here because Mexico is just so nasty.
It literally
I don't know
eats
what.
you up and spits you out.
Like I can't. I don't think you can explain it unless you've been through it and you're just
Yeah.
like, what am I doing? Sometimes
It's a really good
Mid-race.
point.
Why
Yeah.
am I here?
what and then it's like another clearing.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
shit.
so cold. I could be back at home right now.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry. What time? Are we going to make the checkpoint?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are we doing? Just keep going, man. Just keep going. We'll get there.
All right, so that is a good point, though, and I probably would feel a lot more comfortable doing that because I could get my feet wet by doing one of these lap races or loop races
Yeah.
down here, and have guys that maybe I do need to come pit every 20 minutes, and come in there every lap, and then I give my guys some extra work to do or whatever it is, so they get practice and like we do all that stuff. I think that's a really good tip to bring up. Yeah, maybe I won't do.
I lost a trophy truck team because I told him he wasn't ready for Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, his ego was too big, and he went to Mexico and he failed for 3 years
Dude,
straight without me there, by the way. And
I couldn't tell
then
you
he
how-
sold all his stuff.
Yeah, that's what happens though, and I don't want to get bummed. Like I'm going because I like this stuff. Like I want to be a side-by-side racer. I just been doing the enthusiast guy, and now I want to be a side-by-side racer. I want to stay in it.
Yeah.
But you're right. There is so many people that have done that. They're one time show up and then never come back again.
Well, it literally. I mean, here's what happens, and I'm sure James will agree with this. If you have a great race, which rarely happens,
Right.
it's almost forgettable. Almost, right? Like, oh, dude, I had a great race. We were out front, no problems. Boom, boom, boom. Didn't have a tire flat, nothing. And then 70% of the time, you have like flat tires, or you have bent tie rod, or whatever. You have stories for years,
Yeah.
and
That's a
you
good
always
point.
remember those races. So it doesn't matter to me unless you're like dead set on winning. I'm just like, hey man, go out there and hope for the best and
Right.
try your hardest, because that's at the end of the day for me. That's what it is.
Yeah. You're building memories and you're building family time.
Exactly,
So.
Yeah.
dude. And at the end of the day, when you come home, you're like, damn, I wish I would have won, but dude, that was a good time.
Right.
Those tacos in Valley too.
And like they're saying legacy, right?
Yeah.
So for sure. And then Erica's also been doing Vora?
Oh, Vora, yeah.
Yeah.
Erica
What's
Sachs.
Vora?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Vora?
Um,
Yeah, fun
Val.
fact is Erica's his sister.
oh, is she?
Indeed.
Oh, I like Erica.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Erica's good people.
I met Erica with Jesse Combs.
Always
on
has.
Jesse's Iron Woman trip.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Erica always has delicious snacks too.
Well, that's why they call her Snacks, right?
So she's been doing some of those Vora races. What's
She's-
Vora?
It's you probably know more than I do, but I know that it's up like in the Reno area.
Yeah.
And what she's been doing is helping do like the course mapping and stuff.
Oh, really?
And
Yeah.
then Subi Mike is also like jumping in someone's razor and racing around a little bit too.
Oh, so if I need a co-driver, I got a co-driver then.
Yeah, but it seems like a good growing thing that they're doing up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I would
That-
agree.
That seems more not so. Let's use Laughlin beat up.
Fresh.
You know,
Yeah,
Fresh.
right?
Laughlin is brand new.
Laughlin's pretty fresh.
We're just going to take 6 miles off it. It's brand new.
So
Dude, it just you don't want to go to Laughlin and be like, hey, dude, it's a short race. Like the pit's only 14 miles away. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because like then you're just going hard.
well,
like-
yeah, but then you have a little bit more safety at least, or at least a little bit of peace of mind.
I've been stranded.
I'm
in
partial to Laughlin. I love Laughlin.
I've been stranded in Laughlin more than Mexico.
Dude, same. I was sitting out there in the middle, like the top of the Laughlin course, right underneath the mountains for 8 fucking hours,
Oh, dude.
Oh my god, I was out there for so long.
Miserable.
I was thinking about going and eating some cactus. I was so hungry. All right, so let's get into a little bit more of the technical portion of this. We're at 6:15, so we only have a little bit more time left. But what do I need to make sure that I do to my side-by-side? We talked about some of the safety stuff, but now I'm a little worried that my suspension might not be working properly. Like if I go out there with stock shocks, I'm worried about the size of my tires, if I have like good wheels on it, if I prepped it with the right oils. Like what do I need to make sure that I do to the vehicle to make sure that it completes the race?
I think know it.
So
Or-
go through it myself?
I think that would help a lot of people. You know, we do a lot here and there, but I feel like some guys, and this is more recreation, not race customer, but some guys don't even know how to change the belt like efficiently,
Right.
or have the tool bag set up just to change the belt. So like there's all those little things too that add into that. After the safety and you pass the start line.
Well, I want to give myself the best opportunity to do well and to have a good car. So I'm going to plug the sponsors of the show while we go through this. Like, let's just say I have shock therapy. I know shock therapy from the Dirt Life show, and I'm using the discount code the Dirt Life at shocktherapyusa.com. And I use that code, but I call them up and I tell them, all right, I want to get some shocks like done because I'm going to do this race. That's it. That's all I got to do. Like, or how does it usually work?
It's a lot more than that, and it goes to, I'm sure James will agree, there's so many manufacturers out there. Like, okay, well, do you want Walker shocks? Do you want Fox shocks? Well, we've been putting Kings on this one. If you were me, you'd put Rev shocks on there, but that's just me. What kind of tires do you want? You want Tensor tires? Well, if you're me, you'd run the BFGs, right? So there's so many things you just kind of got to pick, and then like James said, you got to know your car. But this is the biggest one that I think. After you get your car set up and you're doing all this stuff and you go to the desert and you hang out with your friends, get on a treadmill. Because after 4 or 5 hours of driving in the car, your arms are going to be jello.
Yeah. 100%.
And if you're not a little bit fit, it's almost dangerous. And I've been in cars with people that are not fit, and you're like, whoa, dude. Are you feeling okay? Are you tired? Like, do we need to park it? Because it's a lot to drive fully suited in a hot car. Your pumper stopped working. You're dusty. You're just tired. And that's when mistakes happen. So get yourself fit also, as well as knowing your car and picking the components you want.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, and mentally fit too. So
Yes.
This is actually a topic that I'm glad you brought this up, Mila, is because we're going to actually start having these kind of shows on the Dirt Life with different products and different ways to set up things. Suspension, if you get your car dialed, if you have the right shocks, if you have the right suspension setup, if you have the right sway bars, track bars, all of this different stuff, even wheels and tires, you can eliminate a lot of that fatigue. And then we're going to go along and we're going to do things like fluid logic and mag lock and things that you can do to create cocktails or even water and have it give you the right nutrition while you're going. Like all of these different things, which is another level of what the conversation we're talking about, right? But all of that stuff goes along with what you're saying. And just if I'm Joe going in at my first race, you're completely right. Just work out a little bit.
Well, and it all goes back to, you have your own products that you picked. And just because Bryce can take that Mason all-wheel drive with those Foxes and do that doesn't mean I can do it.
Right.
Right? So even if I was at his level, let's just compare Bryce, Andy, and Luke. They have the same truck, different motor packages, whatever, what have you. They all drive differently.
100%.
So Bryce's truck is not going to be good for Andy, vice versa. It goes the same with the UTVs, right? Just because James can wheel it with those shocks, I'm like, well, dude, it's too soft for me. Well, so you got to get out and drive your car. You got to get out and test it and know your vehicle.
Do the shakedown. All right, so let's keep going on the building portion of it, though. So what are the first things that I need in my UTV? Like, I know that you're a proponent of keeping as much stuff stock as possible.
Yep.
And so I'm going out and racing the rally class, so it's pretty much stock. But I'd like to at least have good suspension. So I'm going to give it to the suspension tuner, Shock Therapy, in my choice. And I get that done. What's the next thing that I go on? I need to do, like, sway bar adjustments. Do I need to do, like, wheels and tires from KMC? Like,
first, take off the front sway bar.
Throw it away?
Just throw it away. Waste.
Okay.
Okay. You don't want it locked up. I mean, independent suspension.
Okay.
Up front, in my opinion. If you did like a spring kit and valving from Shock Therapy, it gives you, as a driver, a benchmark. So then you can play with your crossover rings. Go, you know what? It felt like the car just went through the front end. Put a larger or, stiffer spring rate on it if that's how you feel. Because once again, you're setting it up for you to drive.
Right.
Not me, not him.
Well, I'm gonna trust the guys at Shock Therapy to do it good and get me close, and then I'll go do the shakedown, and then I'll start tuning it and tweaking it to my liking.
Yeah, and then all the way down to like was just touched on, tires or wheels. Different size tires. The holes are getting bigger all the way across the board. So
run some 32s or something.
If the class allows it, I think most of them are up to a 33 in the limited classes, and then like the open classes are going 35s. It's quite a bit.
And then so if
it's a lot.
And then
Yeah.
I know that the wheel size, like if I'm getting my KMC wheels, I want probably a 15-inch wheel so I can clear more rocks and
Yep.
different things like that, right? Have less rotating mass with the tire and everything. So, okay. So I want to have that, and I'm probably going to do some research. I'm going to see that I want a 0 offset to make sure that I'm, keeping all the suspension and everything good.
Bump steer, man.
Yeah.
Got to know what it does. You got to understand what it does, because it may look cool, but it could make it completely undrivable if you get the wrong offset.
Yeah, and you just talked about physical fitness. If the wrong offset is on the front, you're going to get tired in like half the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe what I do then is when I call shock therapy, I just tell them what I'm going to do and then listen to their suggestions and see what my pocketbook can afford in a situation like that. If I can't afford to get a bump steer delete kit or whatever, then I'm not going to get it, right? I'll just see maybe I can do the shocks or vice versa, whatever it is. So, like you guys said, it's all preference, right?
And in my opinion, also, like, being consistent. And that's where I feel like a lot of people fall short with the side-by-side. Because if, let's just say, we set the car up to race in Mexico, the car's 19 inches off the ground in the front and 21 off in the rear. So most people are not going to like how it drives, right?
Got it.
Sit in the car and it goes over the rocks, right? Nothing gets snagged or hung up. It's way up high for the big bumps and G-outs. But then let's say, DP4 is coming up. Hey, man, I really want to go race DP4. And you're like, well, we set it up for Mexico. Different setups. So I would say from a racer standpoint and somebody that builds cars for people, pick and be consistent in where you're trying to go race.
Okay.
And start small.
At least for the first little time. Yeah.
And start small. Like, don't go, okay, well, we're going to do this year with a fresh car. Just like start small. And it all goes back to what he said. Every race is different, so you got to know your car and its handling characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a really, really good point, though, James, is like maybe I do pick Legacy, maybe I do pick DB4, whatever the race series is, and anybody can pick whatever race series they want, but just do that for the first little bit and get used to it. Sure. So maybe even just do one race and then a third race and then the fifth race or whatever it is.
There is no substitute for seat time.
Yep.
I mean, look at you're in the UTV world. I'm in like trophy work. So every time I compare anything, it's trophy trucks. But look at Luke McMillan, dude. That kid is in this truck every chance he gets, and he's testing. He's trying converters, ride heights. He's doing everything he can to get to know his vehicle for the race he's going to do.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that. And and I did the same exact thing, and not in desert racing, but in short course racing. I had just like dirt bikes. I had a practice car and I had a race car. And then every time I could bring the race car out to test it, I would. And even if it had a little bit more miles on it, I would freshen it up, and I would do that because there was no, in my opinion, from coming from dirt bikes, there was no replacement for the practice that I got.
None.
It made a massive, massive difference.
The guys that aren't out there practice or shaking down a lot and testing a lot and knowing their vehicle, I mean, they're competitive, but they're not the last 10% to make it.
Yeah, totally. But if I'm going out there and I'm just doing it like to have fun and just do it, then
100%.
And still doing it on a beginner level, I think you guys have a really good point. Maybe just do one little local series.
It just all revolves around knowing your car, knowing what it does, knowing what it won't do, knowing where it really is unhappy, and just building off of that.
Yeah, and even if you don't know any of that stuff, just build from the ground up.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, right? Like
pretty much.
Okay, so I've got wheels and tires. I've got suspension. I've got shocks and stuff like that. I'm probably going to take it to the next level. My buddy Jeff Furrier at UPR.com, he always taught me that the cockpit is one of the most important pieces to any race car. Like, you have to be centered in the cockpit. You have to be comfortable in the cockpit. You have to have your arms in a certain position because otherwise, again, to Mila's point, you'll get tired, right? And a lot of these guys are just going out there with the stock setup and being okay with it. I mean, maybe my first race I do okay with it, but if I'm going to upgrade and do all that stuff, what am I looking for in there to make sure I'm safe and comfortable?
I'm gonna build right off of that and say, for me, because I'm tall, I don't fit in a lot of race cars. The seat is the most important part for me because the Sparcos, I love Sparcos, but I have baby making hips, and they make my hips go to sleep. So when I get out to change a tire, my legs are all tired and sleepy. So The Cobras, for me, don't make my legs go to sleep, and they're so comfortable. So if you're going to sit in a seat for 6, 8, 10, 12, 36 hours.
And this is not just a regular seat that you're going down the freeway. This is like a jackhammer seat. And
it's a race seat.
Yeah.
You definitely need to, get something you are going to be comfortable in and build around it, because I'm sure James will agree. If you're going and the mid rail is right here and you're steering and you're hitting your elbow on the mid rail, or if you get all crooked and your body shucks to one side and you hit dude, that's going to hurt, man.
Yeah, and it's going to make you really tired dodging that the whole time.
And one of the biggest ones is the neck breaker bar. So this mid-rail B-pillar, if it's in the wrong spot and you hit it in just the right area, it'll break your neck. So you got to make sure that your seat and all this stuff around you is clear.
So that's a really good point to bring up. So, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I went with the wrong seat for 3 years, and then finally I tested a whole bunch of seats, and I ended up going with an OMP rally seat. And I'm exactly the opposite of you. I have a really skinny hip set, right? And so, like, when I sit in there, I was always bouncing around and sliding all over the place. So I finally found one that worked, and I had too low of a rear portion of it, and then so finally it had a taller one, and I was just like, holy shit, this is like a whole new world.
Yeah,
and all it was an $800 part. I mean, that's expensive, right? But in the whole grand scheme of things, that changed everything.
Yeah, man. Comfort is key.
And then so, James, we were talking about it earlier today, like just in the shop, like you can, if you're going to build my car for me, you can build the tub or the doors and stuff a little bit different depending on what I need. If Mila's got a really big seat, or if I got a skinny seat, you can still give us enough clearance with the cage.
Totally. And that's all, like he said, and door bars and lacing and however you want to lay it out, which can also follow through, not necessarily differences in desert, but from like a desert car to a short course car that's got a quickener, you don't need a giant mid-rail, let's say, like we did built into the XP Pro, right? Jeff's a big dude, so easy to slide in there, get in and out of the vehicle, and then also plenty of arm room.
Yeah, totally.
For your elbows, you get a little Western in there.
Yeah, and you have more room for snacks if you want to put bags in there.
Yeah, tons of room.
There's a bunch of advantages to that. But you're right, though. So maybe I'm taking this to the next level, but I'm going to want to start with that before I start spending all the money on building the cage and everything around it, right? So if I'm coming into IMG and I'm saying, all right, this is the seat that I like because I went out and tested a bunch of them, and then I say, all right, James, go to town. Do you ask those questions to me? You say, all right, well, sit here and then show me how you steer the wheel, and then give me some advice on what I need to do?
Yeah, I mean, even this cage that can't be seen off the camera, I don't think.
Yeah, hey, flip that camera with your arm right there.
Wider door bars.
There you go.
Just because it's kind of getting set up for the desert,
Yeah, exactly.
So wider door bars. This car has actually really wide.
The one behind us here?
Yeah, door line into it. You just can't tell because the seat is so big.
Mila could probably switch the camera, just flip it around the opposite way to see the orange car behind us here. Yeah, there you go. That's a good angle. So you can see how it comes off of the first the A-pillar, which is that first bar that comes up there where the windshield will go, and then it comes out a little bit.
Yeah.
So it gives your doors or your tub a lot wider width for your arms, right?
And also getting in and out of that vehicle. Like you said, if you got to change a tire, you're already tired. You've been in the car for 7 hours maybe. Getting out of there, sure, the cool, small, tight little body looks bitchin', but sliding in and out of that nice opening is way better.
I can tell you, there's nothing worse than stepping on your catheter with jello legs trying to change your tire, dude. It's the worst.
The worst one is then you go to move and then it slingshots you and you're like, dude,
it flicks you.
There ain't no water out here. You know what I mean?
Building off that seat real quick, my last driver, he was tall like me, but we were proportioned differently, and his hips would hurt because the pedals were too far forward.
Yeah.
So, the steering wheel and the pedal angle is just as crucial as your seat positioning.
Yeah.
When we did the pre-runners, for every driver that bought a pre-runner from Raceworks, we would set the seat in there and set the pedals and steering wheel exactly where they wanted it, because they're going to be in that truck for thousands of miles, man.
Yep.
We want them to be fresh and sexy when they get out for the race.
Yeah, we ended up doing that with our short course cars too, because the first time I got in my Polaris Razor 900 that I bought from the UTV Wolfpack, I put in a seat that was for me, and I had a little seat pad in there. And the whole time that you were sitting there, just because the way the car was built, your legs were all the way off to the right, probably 6 inches. You were sitting sideways, and then the steering wheel was over here. So you were driving with your body like in the wrong angles the whole time. It was crazy.
You know what's crazy is a lot of new cars are like that.
Really?
If you like, when my wife and I started
You're
dating,
talking about passenger cars?
Yeah, she had a Toyota Corolla, like 2005 or whatever, but the steering wheel was offset and the pedals were over to the right from the center of the seat.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's
right?
so like you don't even notice it until you notice it. And you're like, oh, geez, what is? And then I noticed a lot of cars are like that.
Yeah.
It's just because of how they have to package it for the impact stuff.
But that's a good thing to bring up for all of us to talk about. Like, and James, you probably talk to people about this all the time. And they're like, no, I don't care about that. And you're like, dude, it's a big deal.
Well, if you're doing it from scratch, you might as well do what you want to do, right?
Right.
Like building the door bar costs you the same amount, whether it's, elevated 2 inches over
Right.
or not. I mean, you're talking about a small amount of material.
And there's a reason everybody's sitting in their car after the race having a beer. And it's not because they want to sit for pictures and stuff. It's because they're exhausted.
Yeah.
They just need to catch their breath before they get out and stretch their legs.
100%. All right, so I got like a little bit more personal question for you guys. Like, what's your guys' favorite thing to do? Is it like to prep the cars? Is it to fab stuff up and build things? Or is it to, I don't know. There's so many things that you guys do, like service things.
For me, I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I prep and I fab and I co-dog. But my favorite ultimate thing to do is to do something that I'm prepping that I know no one else has done yet. That gives me an advantage.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, I know there's some certain parts that we used on the old car that I had that I'm like, oh, if I do this, it's not going to fail me. But no one else is doing it, so I'm stoked on it. And then I show up the race, and I look at my car, and then I go over and I kind of just glance at their car. Nope, they haven't figured it out yet. That's my favorite thing in the world.
Dude, I was just talking to my dad the other day about this. Like, one of the things that drives me so much, I've always been goal-oriented, right? Like, I always want to win races, and I always want to strive to move forward and progress and progress and progress. And since I've stepped away from that a little bit, semi-retired, right, I like to see those goals met in everything that I do. So I love that you said that. I mean, even the show, right? Like, if I hit a certain number or we hit a certain milestone, like, that's what makes me happy, just like what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a goal in everything you do, or else you're just aimless.
Do you have kind of the same feeling, James, or do you like to do fab or prep or?
And I'm very similar. Obviously prep. I mean, I service cars, installations, whatever in the whole building. My favorite thing is creative fabrication. So, whether it be like today, I was building a set of just one-off like opening net doors.
Oh, sick.
It's simple, but it's just created from scratch, which I've kind of cornered myself out of somehow.
I think that's just because of what the market has. But yeah,
that's my favorite part.
But having as a customer, having something that no one else has is something everyone wants.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are both literally talking about the same thing though, because he's saying that he's like looking at somebody going, "Yep, he doesn't have that yet. He hasn't caught on."
Right.
You're doing the same thing, just in a creative outlet instead of a competitive outlet, because you're like, "Yeah, you know what? This is bitching. I just figured out a different way to do this."
Yep.
That's super cool. So it's being unique, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's having something that no one's. I have a Datsun 510 that I have that I've had for years.
Big 510 guy.
Big 510 guy. But I can't afford to have a cream puff, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So on my car, I've done the same thing. I've made things that no other 510 has, and it just feels good to do something. And then you're just like, yeah, well, I did that for you, or I did it for me, or whatever. But no one else has it.
Right.
That's so cool. I remember making my first set of velocity stacks for the Yamaha YXZ, and I had zero idea what I was doing. I just went in there and I figured it out, and I like drew them up and like got all this stuff done, and I put them in. And they had the most top end I've ever had in the fucking side-by-side ever. Zero bottom end. But I was like, Jesus Christ, if I could keep this thing at 11,000 RPM the whole time, I'm going to be faster. It's like a Banshee. But I only ended up using them for one race. But I was so stoked that I figured out how to do that, because I'm not an engineer like that.
And you made them.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Like making stuff with your hands and making it work and making it like I did that, there's no better feeling.
Dude, it was so rad. All right, so I do want to talk something about like the service or the maintenance portion of it, because that is going to make it so that you can finish races, right? So using good products like Moto products really helps a lot in any type of lubricant or fluid. So in the differentials, that's really, really important in these four-wheel drive vehicles. Obviously, you know, in the transmission, in the motor, most importantly, and then even in the filtration systems too. Like, so all of that stuff has a really, really, really important piece to finishing any race. And when I talk about the filtration systems, like you can't get any air, or excuse me, any dirt or any air inside the, any dirt inside the air intake system. So what do you guys do to make sure that the car is in perfect service condition before you go to a race? Like, what are you doing?
I'm a big snob about air in the intake. Like, turbos don't like dirt at all. So
Right.
I actually either I use grease or I actually black silicone all my connections.
Really?
I don't care. If I have to cut it off, at least I get no dirt in there.
Nice. Yeah.
That's
In all
Details.
fairness, it's not my money that I'm spending. So
Yeah, but still, details. That's a massive, massive point.
a lot of the factory stuff that I've noticed is actually very good at sealing, so you don't have to do that. But it's when you make like your own intake, or you have to do an add-on or a intercooler tube or something. That's the stuff I'm talking about.
Got it.
Yeah, as far as like the side-by-sides for me, I probably don't run the oil in the cars over 500 miles.
Okay.
You know, like if I went to a DP4 this race or this weekend, whether it be 75 miles or 250, next week I'd be dropping the oil.
Right.
All the oils.
All the oils.
Yeah, I would
And then-
change every oil every race.
Right. And
Agreed.
then I use the OEM air filters.
They're good.
Yeah,
They're made by Donaldson,
they seem to be great.
I believe, right?
And they're
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
I think they're $40.
Right.
So
But just, yeah, and you can just throw it out and put a
Yep.
new one in. But that $40 will save you $5 grand on the engine.
Well, here's something I try and tell people that are building their own cars too. Custom stuff is great. It's all cool and stuff. But what if the dude, your right-hand man, forgot another filter?
Right.
You run over to James's pit. You're like, hey, man, you got an air filter? He's like, I got one right here. It's
Yeah.
cool. I have the same one. If you have all factory stuff that's interchangeable, it's easy to get spare parts like down in Mexico if you need it.
Yeah, 100%. And not just spare parts. You can pull them off of your pre-runner.
That too.
Like any of that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that too.
all right, so you're changing all of the fluids.
Yep.
Are you looking over stuff? Like, where are you going with your prep to get ready to go?
Don't forget the fuel filter. Often overlooked.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. That's a really
Go
good
ahead.
point.
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut
especially in these cars, you know.
off. Really?
Yeah, totally, because it's all in tank, you know, on the pump. So it's, I mean, I don't know, that big.
Right.
Yeah, dirt
Little
gets in the
filter in
fuel
there.
tanks pretty quick. And if
Yeah.
your stuff sits with fuel foam in it, I don't like that.
Right. So then, you know, that's why I had this stuff out. So basically, nothing better than using torque wrenches, because I've sheared my fair share of bolts.
So kind of show it up to those cameras
Like a
right
dummy.
there.
Just a 3/8 torque wrench. This one's a Matco that's been rebuilt, I think, 3 times.
It's one of your favorite tools, though.
Yeah, this one's a good one for
And
me.
don't cheap on the torque wrench.
Yeah.
That's the last part you want to
Never,
cheap on.
ever cheap on the torque wrench.
So that one's been good. Like I said, it's been rebuilt because the springs broke or whatever, and that's taken care of. But I use the torque wrenches, and then also red or blue Loctite. Most of the time at this point, red, unless it's like a recreation car. And then this stuff's pretty cool. Cross-check torque seal. There's a bunch of different manufacturers.
Get the pink one.
You like the pink?
I only the pink one because it looks good on race cars.
I like,
Yeah,
I don't even
that-
know
I
why.
like the bright yellow one.
I'm a big fan of the pink
So-
stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty simple stuff that you can basically draw a line on. If you don't know what it is, you've probably seen it on pre-runners, razors, or trophy trucks. Or
Anything I've
whatever else.
prepped, you've seen it on.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's just, and then that way, when you go to, let's say, the pit or the car got dirty in transport, you wash it, it's not, oh, hey, like the marker line's gone, or
Right.
hey, the car's in the first 25 miles or down, and you got Jim grabbing wrenches, you know, looking
Yeah.
for something to tighten.
Well, it also gives the guy that on my team that we're using as the example here that doesn't know. It even gives mom that's making sandwiches the ability to know there's a mark right there, and it
Yeah.
still looks fine.
Yep.
Right.
So it's okay.
It's so easy.
Here's a side note on the thread locker, the red. each one of these has a number on it. So this is 242 and this is 271. The higher the number, the stronger it is. So there's a couple different reds, and I use two.
You use red number 6969?
Yeah, always. 243, I think. No, that's 242. Anyways, there's stronger ones, and if you put them on the wrong spots, you're not going to get that bolt out. So be mindful of what you're using when you're using it.
Pro tip from Mila. Yeah, so check the numbers actually on your red and blue Loctites. But
the red's the worst.
Those are, and
I use it though.
If you're just going to your local hardware store and they only got one, just get that one because it's still going to be better than nothing.
And think about this: when you're threading the bolt in, it doesn't need a lot because there's thousandths of an inch in between the threads. So if you just cake it on there, you're not getting that bolt out. It just takes a little bit.
Yeah, and but those are all both good things to bring up. So what am I looking for on my Polaris Razor that is getting done by IMG before I go out there? Am I looking to do the tie rods? Am I looking where am I putting all this stuff and what am I torquing?
Well, I guess it depends on the actuality of the vehicle as well. But the OEM bolts, you can always look over torque, and once again, knowing your own machine. So if we do it for you, or any shop does a service and does it for you, cool. But being able to throw that car up in your garage and check the torque on, let's say, the radius rod bolts, maybe you can't really torque the jam nuts, but on your radius rods, right?
Don't
so
do that.
Yeah.
check it all out. And
I've seen this on tie rods before. Don't do that.
Really?
Either.
Yeah, don't do that.
On the aluminum?
Yeah.
No, on steel. They put this on the Heim joint.
Yeah, on the Heim threads. I've seen that before too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so make sure you do the lug nuts. You check your tie rods. You check your steering clevis. All of the stuff in the rack, every single shock bolt for sure. Stuff like anything that's a moving part. Always look at those first, and then you can go around the car and check all the other bolts and make sure that they're all torqued.
It's a Polaris. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not well versed, but is the Polaris the one that you have to have a suppression system over the fuel injection rail? Because they catch fire.
Yeah, I don't think you have to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
But if you were wanting to keep your car for a while, you would do that, right? So definitely.
I've never had one, and I've had
turbo
models. I've had 6.
Okay,
that's more of a.
I remember putting one on one of my old bosses.
Yeah,
and he said, "Oh, they'll go up in flames."
Yeah. But that's more of a. How do I want to say this without sounding like a jerk to you and to everybody else? It's more of a Facebook thing.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Somebody said it, and now everybody does it.
Copy.
But it's always good to have a fire suppression system on your vehicle.
Because fire's the worst, dude.
Oh my God,
don't want
dude.
fire.
Yeah, you don't want to be on fire. I've been on fire a few times, like you guys have, and dude, I don't even know how to explain how bad it sucks.
You'll never come out of your seatbelts quicker, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But fire suppression systems, like what Mila's talking about, is something that's routed inside your car, and you just have a pull button or whatever it is, a pull lever, and that evacuates all the fire extinguishers in the area or whatever. And you could have 2, one in the front, one for the back.
I think you have to have 2 for per the rule book.
But most of the time, it's just fire extinguishers on the vehicle in the UTV. So it's pretty simple. You go out to VOR or DP4 or Legacy, you can have a little bit of protection. You just need to make sure that you know where it is, know how to unclip it, and know where to, obviously suppress the fire at too. So I don't ever suggest spraying a fire extinguisher if there's not a fire, but at least practice unclipping it. Go and see, there's so many people that put the fucking fire extinguishers in the wrong spot. They go out to get it out, and they're like, oh, my shock's in the way now.
Yeah. Or what I've seen also, I think someone lost a car because of this. When the pin starts to come out, they'll zip tie the pin in.
Yeah.
But then you can't undo the zip tie because it's too thick, and then the pin's stuck, and the thing's burning.
So, and that's another thing as far as personal prep. I believe I could tell you what to do, you could say what to do, but Joe at home's gonna have to figure it out at some point, right?
Right.
So when I set up the fire extinguishers, I would assume on this orange car, you can see that the nozzle is pointing towards the middle of the bed.
Yep.
So not that I want that fire extinguisher that far out of the cab in case, let's say, it tips over, right? But like you said, over the engine is where they have an issue, if they have an issue. And usually it's pointed right there, like on my car. So if you don't even have to take the extinguisher off the down tube, right? You could just, and it's shooting at it.
That's a good idea.
I mean, it's just one less step.
Yeah,
right? And if the
two
car's
birds,
on
one
fire,
stone.
you don't want to get near it. And once again, being on fire, jumping out of a car personally, because you don't know how fast it's gonna, what's gonna happen. I've literally tried to take my second step, got caught by the Parker pumper, the air tube, and literally got flat backed.
Yeah.
I believe
And it caught me so off guard, and I'm like, "Jeez!"
Now we're laying under the fire.
Right?
Yeah.
It was just wild.
But and that's what I'm saying. So that's another question that I had, and I was gonna bring this up as more of a context of like in the pits or like with a problem. But how do you handle pressure? Like, what's the best way to do it? Is it like Ricky said, slower is faster? Calm down. Like what?
Well, everyone handles pressure differently. I like to pride myself, not saying it happens all the time, but I try and stay cool under pressure. Because let's say your car has a problem and you're communicating in the radios and both are over pressure and you're like yelling at each other in the radio and all you hear is static. So the calmer the voice, the better the relay on the radios. So when you're amped out and you got pressure and stuff, chaos going on, your mind goes into like a different platform, I guess. So the lower your heart rate is, the better you think. So when pressure starts coming in, it's best to try and stay calm.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, so what about you, James? Like, let's just say you're in a high pressure situation, like getting out of the car, you forgot to take your Parker pumper off. Or if you're in the pits and you have an issue that you need to fix quickly, you got to do a belt, you got to do a tire, and you got to fuel. Like, you have to do all these things. You have limited resources. Like, what's the best way for me to handle pressure if you're suggesting it to me for my first race?
That's tough. I think that's a time thing. It's like seat time, right? Because you're going to have to go through ups and downs, or downs.
The learning curve.
Yeah, and for me that was tough, man. I'm a hothead.
Yeah.
Especially when something didn't go my way or the car just fell apart, and I'm just pissed.
Right.
At a younger age. At this stage, I automatically just go solution.
Right.
Like, I think to myself, like, I don't even need to say anything to anyone or the radio. Like, I'll get to them as long as I'm physically no harm.
Well, I think you learn in time. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just kick into, okay, solution.
I think you learn in time that all that emotion that just comes out is like irrelevant in the long run.
It's a waste of breath.
It's a waste of breath, because now the same thing would probably happen that happened to you 20 years ago.
Right.
You're like, okay, this is what I got to do, and you just buckle down and focus. It's how you handle pressure is basically, I think, on a personal level for each person.
Yeah, so, and I think that you guys are talking from experience as well. So first of all, I love that you guys are giving that experience and that understanding of it. But I also think that as a suggestion to, let's just say me, we're doing my first race as the example again, telling me to just stay calm and just reminding me that, like when I'm in that pressure situation, let's just say you're the crew chief and you're like, George calls in and he's like, hey, we got to change a tire and we got to get fuel and we have a broken tie rod. Like, what do I do? Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You're like, George, calm down. Take it easy. Take a deep breath. We got you covered, buddy. Like, we'll take care of all those things. Like, that goes a long way for somebody that's never raced before.
Right.
So I think that's a really good thing. And those are things that, like you said, you can be learned and maybe just at our first race, like a Legacy or DP4. John Huppert said the fuel rail is an old Polaris problem. So, let's see here. Aim and only use enough to put the fire out and try not to breathe it. Yeah, that's why I said don't.
Yeah.
Dude, I got sprayed. We were in Vegas one time just having a party, and I got sprayed by a fire extinguisher in the hallway. Oh, my God, dude. I almost threw up.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
Why'd you uncork it?
I didn't. They sprayed me.
Sprayed him.
I wish I
You
didn't.
can't breathe. That stuff is so bad.
It is the worst, man. So
the Safecraft stuff is good. It's not like a powder.
It's better?
That's who was building the ones that go off by themselves.
Yeah,
right?
Or they have the portable ones, yeah.
Okay.
But those are the ones, in my personal opinion, to get. They spray like a super hyper cold freeze that just kills everything.
One thing that I want to say to all you guys that are watching or listening to the show, if you guys do have any questions that are beyond what the stuff that we're talking about here, is feel free to reach out to me, and I can relay the messages, if they're good messages, to Mila and to James as well, if you guys are thinking about getting into this, because I think this stuff is really, really important. I mean, I'm even learning stuff, and I raced professional side-by-sides before too, so it's really good to know all this information. And the stuff that you guys know, I mean, it's beyond anything that most people can ever dream of knowing, because you guys have been in the industry so long. So I appreciate you guys sharing all this stuff. Let's see here. We already talked about the structure of leadership that you have at events. What products do you guys usually use? Let's see here. Or actually, you know what? How important is it to bring some of those tools and some of those products with you? So let's just say that we do go out. Do I need to bring extra oil? Do I need to bring brake clean? Do I need to bring lubricants? You know, like what kind of stuff am I bringing with me on the UTV and in the chase trucks?
I always have in the chase truck all the fluids, basically enough to service the car, and then your brake cleaner, etc. I know that a lot of cars do run probably the quart system, right, with like a 3-quart, the aluminum box still.
Yep.
Just a little tray?
I never have, with the, rod through it. But I'm kind of conservative in the desert.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't run it on the UTV that we raced because weight is key on these things, and extra weight's just going to slow you down. So I don't think you want to carry a lot of that, right?
No.
Well, the less the UTV weighs, the less it's going to break.
And
and the faster you go.
Right.
With that being said, if you dump the car over and it's upside down for an hour, you might lose all the oil, But if you throw the car over and then get it rolled back over, you might be down half a quart or liter. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So it just depends on what the situation is. So that's personal preference, and I think that's probably dependent on where you're racing at too. If you're just racing a Laughlin, it's 18 miles for a lap. It's a little bit easier to be okay with it because somebody can get you some stuff.
You want to pack the kitchen sink in Mexico, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Or have 16 trucks that are just following you around, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, we already answered most of these questions.
Water also. A lot of people don't think out. Let's just use snacks and water.
Yeah.
For racing. Like, we're going to go to the District 38 race and have fun. Well, I don't know. Maybe you get broke and you're stuck out there for 4 hours and the sun's balls hot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have no water.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens.
I mean, dude, water is lifeblood. You need it.
Yep.
So
I used to always have 2 bottles no matter what I was doing. Like even when we did the UTV World Championship, it's only 18 miles. Like you could probably walk back faster, but like I always had 2 bottles no matter what happened.
Nothing wrong with that.
Let's see here. Kyle Mendoza 23 said, how about those explosive fire extinguishers? I don't know what that actually means. Is that like a fire extinguisher, like a suppression system maybe?
So there's a couple companies out there. There's one company I know of makes it looks like a stick. And it's like some sort of thermoplastic, and once it reaches a certain temperature, the plastic will melt, and then it just blows out.
So it's an automatic thing for
so
temperature
it's like an
based.
explosive fire extinguisher. It's a suppression system. So actually, there's a company that came. I watched a demo. It's pretty badass. They use them on airplanes, boats, anywhere that there could be a fire.
Dude, that's crazy.
I personally think it would be great in off-road.
Yeah, especially on these things, because when I jumped out of the car and got laid out on my back, we didn't know the fire was coming. We're literally just out at the Mint having a great day, and I look in the mirror and what the heck is that? You know what I mean? And the car loses power. So, like, if you don't know it's coming and that thing goes off and puts it out, bitching, because that puts you one step ahead of the game. Right?
100%.
That is super cool. Yeah,
those are cool.
I didn't even know those existed. So thanks, Kyle, for talking about that. John Huppert said, can never have enough microfiber towels. So, yeah, that's actually another point that we should bring up. So inside the cockpit, I want snacks. I want water. What else do I bring other than a co-driver?
Definitely microfibers. That's definitely a good point. And a rule is when you go through a water, the driver gets the microfiber first, then the co-dog. Yeah. Don't be the co-dog that wipes your face while the driver's running into stuff.
Yeah. Dude, did somebody do that and got yelled at?
I got yelled at. Well, here's my story. I held it out. I'm like holding it, and he didn't see it.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, maybe he doesn't want it. So I start wiping my face, and then I got
shit.
yelled at, like, hey, the driver gets it first. I'm like, dude, I held it out for you. You just didn't see it. So,
You
it's
got
one
to
of those
punch
things
him
you learn.
and let him know.
Yeah.
He paid my bills. I didn't want to do that.
That's hilarious, man.
But yeah, driver gets it first.
Is there anything else that I need to bring in there?
I don't recommend this, but there was a team I raced with at once that we put a little bottle of Jack Daniels in each co-dog and driver pouch. So if they did get stranded, they had a snack and a drink to get them by, wait for the tow truck.
Yeah, I know a couple
Don't
people
recommend that, though.
I know a lot of teams that actually throw pork chops in a can, like a Coors Light or something, in their cooler or whatever it is, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's see here.
Well, in the rule book, you have to have, first aid kit. By the way, One Life Trauma Kit's my boy Josh. I definitely recommend it. I don't know why it's not sanctioned to have a One Life Trauma Kit in each car.
Yeah.
Because when you roll over, a Band-Aid ain't going to fix a broken finger or splint it, at least.
Yeah.
Trauma kits are a definite must-have, in my opinion. They got splints or whatever you want to put together. But just your typical first aid kit that you just get to get by the rules, it's not going to work.
Yeah, those trauma kits are really important.
Yeah.
So your guy, the One Life Trauma Kit, we just did a giveaway with Desert Squadron Trauma Kits.
I saw those. Those are good, man.
All of them are really, really good. That's a really good point to bring up. Like, so safety first, right? Not safety third. But, like, any time that you can have that, I mean, it only weighs like maybe 2 pounds. Like, it's insanely light. So you can have that trauma kit and not have any issues with it.
I have one in my car. It's in my trunk, just because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Cool. That's smart.
Totally. All right, so we're going to kind of wind down the show. Do you guys have any suggestions or comments on what I can do to have a better race or anything else that I need to know?
Just start small, man. Don't try and bite off. I've seen so many people, they take their friends to the desert. In the desert, they just like hooked, so they go and they buy everything. And they're just completely uneducated in the curriculum and how the safety of it all and just everything. So get a Can-Am or a Polaris and start small, know the vehicle, and be safe. Because at the end of the day, you could be a statistic. These things are statistic makers right and left if you're dumb.
Yeah.
So just start small.
And be smart, yeah.
I was also going to bring that up earlier when you were talking about people. And what I've always thought is, why don't we have somebody that's like medically inclined with us, right? Like, because just with our small group that goes racing and this happens, you got people tripping and falling in the pits.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sometimes there's fuel fires.
Dougie fell on his back off the roof.
He was having a good time.
Yeah.
And
What
things
happens.
happen, right? So I'm like, if you guys have friends and family, firefighters, medics, whatever, like getting, more.
That's such a
that
great
involved,
idea,
like,
dude.
I honestly, it came to me when I was thinking about like Cameron Ron, right?
Yeah.
They do the OC firefighter thing,
Yep.
right? And I'm like, dude, how good is that crew? Because like, if somebody just dropped in the pits, like, dude could save a life.
Yeah.
The Tisco guys have 90% of them are firefighters, and there's always a firefighter with a trauma bag in the helo.
Really?
And they'll land for anybody. Like when the year in Laughlin, Cameron's transmission blew up and took that dude's leg, our helo landed and helped that dude get him out.
That's crazy, yeah. And so we did the same thing in San Felipe. Derek from Optic Helicopters, we saw like stuff happening out on course that wasn't racing. And we would always go by, we'd always go down, and we'd always, look at them and see if they were okay. And everybody, I think it must be something, because it's the only first time I've been up in a helicopter at a race, but like it must be something that's known in the desert. Like you tell everybody thumbs up, like you get out of the car, you make sure you're letting everybody know that things are okay so that they can go and do their whatever their job is at the time.
It just made me think of something. Like James said, always have someone. It's almost better to not have someone in the helo, because when you're in Mexico, not that it's better, but let's say Mexico, there's been a lot of issues at night.
Right.
And you can't fly at night in Mexico because of the cartel laws and all that. But if people on your team are medically inclined, you could help save so many people down there. There's so much chaos at night. You got to be smart down there.
Yeah, even just heat exhaustion too.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's such a good thing to bring up, James. I'm glad
Just a whole nother set of thought process too. Like, yeah, maybe somebody is having heat issue, right?
Yeah.
me and you are just going to be like, yo, dog, you need a taco.
Get
Yeah,
him some
exactly.
water.
You haven't had a taco or something. Where,
Yeah, but the other guy would know.
yeah.
Know
Right.
exactly what's going on. Yeah, and then Cowboy AZ Tech says, never stick your arms, keep your arms crossed. Yeah, so in the race cars,
Grab
it's a
the
little
seat
harder.
belts.
Yeah, grab your seat belts. Make sure that you're always like holding your seat belts or doing that. But in the race car with window nets and all that stuff, it's really hard to get your arms out. The new rules, you have to have window nets on the front, like you can see this razor here, so between the A and B pillars, as well as the doors between the B and C pillars.
You're not allowed to have an inch
Yeah,
between the net and the pillars.
yeah, so that you can't get anything out. You'd be surprised at how many different things can happen. I mean, even just the one incident that I was in, I went through a window net on a vehicle. Like, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that can happen. So when we talk about the safety stuff, like having these safety pieces on your car, it's just as important to have a good builder. If you want to build your own car at home, cool. But have a dude that knows what he's doing, at least look it over. Or have somebody check it out before, like what James was saying, because he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's done it a million times. So those things are really important when it comes to safety.
Yeah, and more power to people doing it in their garage.
Dude, 100%.
I support that 100%.
My last car that we did the BITD Rally Championship in,
Yeah?
I have this facility, right? We're like 7,500 square foot, and I prepped that car in my garage, and we dumped it out of fives
Yeah.
just to make it like, yo, this is garage racing. And it felt so good, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the cage came off the shelf and this and that, right? But
But you built the whole
I
car
did
in the garage, yeah.
I did it in the garage for the most part. And
Yeah,
I loved
100%. And there's all those DIY things that you can do. You can buy CageWorks
Yep.
kits, like tube kits, and put them together and build in your garage. But the main thing I'm trying to get across here is that you can have somebody else, like whether it's an expert or anybody, like even if you brought your car here to James, he wouldn't send you away without looking at it.
Yep.
Like, so there's so many cool people in off-road, like Mila said at the beginning. So, all right, you guys got anything else, or you want to do a rapid-fire Q&A? I think James has already answered some of these. Got anything else?
No, I'm good. Just
What's
start
on this-
small.
What's on the your schedule for the rest of the year, Mila?
I took a step back. My last race shop just wore me down, so I took a
A lot
step.
of work.
No, it just goes back to the positive environment. I'm a pretty positive person. I like to joke. I like to be funny. I had some near-death experiences in the last 5 years, so it kind of changes you a little bit. So I'm just stepping back.
Dude,
I'm
I
gonna go to
f-
the races and have fun instead of being under stress.
I feel that vibe like more than you know, dude.
Yeah, man.
What do you got going on, James? It sounds like you might do some racing on the side-by-side here pretty quick.
We're going to go give the Outlaw Series, the West. Is that
Yep.
what it is?
Outlaw
West?
Series West, man.
Outlaw Series West, baby.
What's that?
It's I don't know when it starts. I'll have to look at the dates.
It's
Where's it at?
August. The first round is Cedar City.
Oh,
They're gonna have
really?
one in Taft too.
I want to go up there.
Yeah, so like,
The Cedar City one looks dope.
right.
I want to go up there.
I've got a 7-month-old, and now I'm like, man, Mexico's probably not going to happen this year, right? That's fine. So we'll go try something else.
Well, and it's new,
Yeah,
right? New terrain.
exactly.
Yeah, Andy, what car are you gonna race?
RS1.
Oh, dude,
Oh, wow.
big RS1
Polaris,
guy
baby,
now.
all day. What's up?
Dude, you're going to be so moto out there. Those cars are so sweet to drive, dude. You're going to love it. John Huppert's actually brought up a good point. Everyone on the team should know CPR or how to put on a tourniquet. Yeah, those are easy things to learn, too. I mean, you can
Yeah.
watch a video on YouTube and figure it out in, 2 minutes.
Yep. 100%.
So I agree with that wholeheartedly, John. So thank you very much for letting us know that. And if you guys have any comments that, like I said, you guys want to have or questions for the guys, feel free to send them through the Dirt Life, and we'll try to filter them out and send them to the guys if they are willing to answer them. All right. So I appreciate you guys doing all this stuff, man.
No, thank you.
We've already been here for a couple hours, so doesn't seem like it, though, when you're talking shop, does it?
No, it's good to just talk. Just talk. No phones, no nothing. Just hash
Dude,
it
my
out.
phone has been blowing up.
Yeah.
So let's get this rapid-fire Q&A going. James, you might have answered some of these, but pretend like they're brand new, man.
Okay.
All right, let's let Mila go first. Tacos or hot dogs?
Tacos.
James?
I'm a hot dog right now.
Yeah, I kind of. Dude, so
I've been smashing hot dogs, no lie.
Dude, hot dogs have been like on the front street these days. I've been having hot dogs too. So fun fact, I've only ate tacos once since San Felipe. So that's been like the longest I've gone, dude.
Wow.
I feel like I'm like not getting a fix.
I think I saw your Instagram story on that one too.
Yeah, dude. So I need some tacos. Anybody want to buy me tacos? Let me know.
Tacos.
Chicken or asada?
On what? My taco?
Ooh.
Asada.
Let's throw it out. Let's throw a torta out there.
Ooh.
Torta. You going chicken? You're going asada on the torta? Where are you going, James?
I ate a torta 2 days ago.
Did you?
Pastor, baby.
Oh, that wasn't an option.
I know.
Dude,
That's good. That's a good one.
that's the way to go, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Mila, dunes or the river?
Dunes.
Dunes.
Yeah, I'm going to the river right now just because it's hot.
Yeah.
Action shots or still shots? I mean, this just depends. There's so much that goes behind this question. Like,
Well, what are we taking pictures of? Trucks?
let's just say a side by side.
Action shots.
You're going action shot. Are you like the full dust, like silt action shot where you're hitting it sideways?
The baller photographers now have like those super crisp cameras where you can see the little dirt missiles coming off, those explosions. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Are you going action shots or still shots, James?
Action, because we're always taking stills, man.
Yeah,
Not
always
enough
taking
action.
stills. Big still guy at the shop here, taking stills of this orange Razor behind us and everything.
Still.
Three-wheeler or quad, Mila?
3. Wheelie City, dude.
Death Machine.
Yeah, buddy.
Did he side wheelie?
I can, but not that great. On a 70, no problem.
Dude, what if you get the 110 with no suspension? You can just get that thing going, dude.
Yeah.
I can see you riding side wheelies at like 3 o'clock for days.
We had a Trizinger when I lived in Ramona. We had like 7 people on that thing doing wheelies, dude. We see how many people we could get on it just to ride a wheelie. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, James, what are you going with?
3.
You're going three-wheeler too? Are you going 12 o'clock, boys? Or are you going side wheelie? Where are you at?
Side wheelies.
Side wheelies are cool. If I had my
Side
druthers, 2 wheels all day long.
Dude, so I was just thinking, like right now, I think came up with a new social media phenomena. If you got a three-wheeler and you can just ride nose wheelies like Axel Hodges on a three-wheeler,
Dang.
dude, that would be next level,
Wait,
right?
do a 50-foot gap into nose wheelie like Axel Hodges?
I don't know if
or-
you're gonna. I don't know if you're gonna. But I'm just saying,
That
like,
guy. He makes me feel like my whole dirt bike career was null and void.
Yeah.
The backflip manual was
Dude.
blew my mind.
He's off the chain, dude.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
all right, we're getting low batteries on
We're
this
losing batteries.
technology. All right, let's cruise through this real quick here. Pizza rolls or jalapeno poppers?
Pizza rolls,
Poppers,
Coffee or tea?
coffee.
coffee.
Favorite movie?
Gangs of New York all day long.
Whoa, that's a good one.
I'm still going to go with Ace Ventura.
That's a good one.
The first one.
That's a good one.
Like a glove. Sketchiest moment of 2022. Oh, 2021.
Sketchiest. Oh. I had COVID for 3 weeks, almost died.
Oh, we don't want. Yeah,
No,
that is
was,
a sketchy moment.
Yeah, something like that. That was bad.
I'm glad you're still here, Mila. What's your sketchiest moment? Jaime?
21?
2021.
I'm not sure, dude.
I think it was when you threw out your hip, dude, because you were down for like you were in that.
Was
on
that
that cane.
21?
I think so. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? Any superpower. We were even talking about X-ray vision last time,
I was just thinking seeing through things.
but you'd have to have layered X-ray vision, is what we decided, because you don't want to just see through everything.
I'd
right?
rather just probably move things with my hands. Like, over here.
Oh, so you could just chill and just like have it.
Yeah.
That would help with tacos though, because you could just like move things with your hands for tacos from the store and just have it right now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
real hungry. All right, James, what would you?
Fly.
You'd fly?
Fly.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
YouTube.
Video or photo?
Of off-road?
Just in general, what do you like? Like if you're scrolling through Instagram, are you seeing photos or are you seeing like photos
It's
or
50-50
videos better?
for me, but if I'm watching off-road, I love videos. The
Yeah.
new videos like Justin Chasen.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm a video guy.
he's murdering. Most memorable race?
2008 Vegas to Reno for me.
Ooh, that,
It's a long story, but we finished on 3 wheels. We couldn't even make the turn to get on the podium. We just snow plowed to where our crew was.
this sounds like an awesome story to hear.
Damn.
That's pretty good.
Too bad the iPad is gonna die. All right, what's your favorite, most memorable race, James?
I know that there's no time for this, but that's my backpack and number plate from 2008 Vegas to Reno from my Rhino hanging over there.
Oh, really?
Whoa!
Yeah, you're right there?
1938.
Oh, wow.
Damn, you guys are, dude. I didn't even know a side by side existed in 2008.
It was a Rhino, right?
Fuck that race in
Dude,
that Rhino. Dog.
really? I don't even know how you did that, dude.
We
That's
didn't.
crazy.
We didn't finish.
Favorite
Yeah.
snack?
Oh, beef jerky all day.
James is probably Sour Patch Kids.
It is Sour Patch Kids.
Just
I
like your
knew it.
sister.
Yeah.
Supercross or motocross?
Super. Well, it depends, but generally super.
Well, right now I'm more excited for motocross, but yeah.
Yeah.
Supercross.
You're going
Dude, they just
Supercross
pin
too?
it in motocross.
So hard. What other form of racing would you like to try?
Ooh, Formula One all day.
All day, every day.
Trophy truck.
Oh, there you go.
Put me in.
It's fun, dude.
Put me in, coach.
I'm not
Who
gonna
got
lie.
one?
Just use someone else's wallet.
Who's your celebrity crush?
I can't say it. My wife's watching.
All right, so we're going to skip that question. Chips and guacamole or French fries and ketchup?
Chips.
I'm still thinking about the last one.
Are you going on celebrity crush? Because we got to hurry, dude. Otherwise, this thing's going to die out.
Guacamole.
You're going guacamole. All right. Well, hey, dude, I really appreciate both of you guys hanging out. I feel like we covered only like the surface level stuff, but I still think that you guys did a fantastic job relaying information to everybody. So I really appreciate it. It really helped me understand a lot of the stuff that the people ask us online, so I can help and relay the message to them too. So. All right, you guys can always visit the sponsor deals page on the dirtlifeshow.com. Get your deals there, click through, and have all your discounts on the products. Next week's show, we're crossing our fingers that Bryce Menzies feels a little bit better. We can go over there and hang out and do some cool stuff with him and Justin Chasen. So
He's a bad dude.
Yeah, he really is. Thanks to James and everybody here at IMG Motorsports for letting us disturb the peace. And thank you to you guys, man. You guys are our lifeblood. We really appreciate everything that you guys do for the show. So please share the show. Do everything you can to help support us. Thank you very much for living your dirt life with us. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys. Hold on. Question.
Yeah.
Over there.
Thanks for listening to the Dirt Life Show. See you next week.